Hey guys, we have an exciting event in May that I want to talk to you about. My father, Chris Bledsoe, will be the keynote guest at the Contact Modalities Expo at the Lake Lawn Resort in Delavan, Wisconsin. From May 2nd to May 4th, come check out the Premier Consciousness Symposium in the Midwest. There will be a VIP lunch, a skywatch, weather permitting, on Friday. On Saturday afternoon, Dad will be interviewed live on stage by Jimmy Church in a fireside-style chat. And on Sunday night, there's going to be a cocktail party with a live DJ and a live panel. Throughout the weekend, there will be 3 conference rooms running simultaneously with some really cool presenters with amazing topics such as breath work, sound and resonance therapy, remote viewing, seeing in real time without eyes, CE5, dowsing rods, cryptids, spirits, mediumship, seances, astral travel, energy work, manipulation, Knights Templar and the Keepers of the Knowledge, the ET connection, divine feminine, frequency work via crystal skulls and biofield tuning, plant medicine, ayahuasca, channeling, quantum hypnosis, sacred geometry, and so much more. Get your tickets and more information at contactmodalitiesxpo.com and come hang with us.
Welcome, I guess, to the double swap cast, part gaming memories, part Bledsoe said so. The gaming memories fans will have already heard a little bit of an intro, but I just want to get right into it. The prophets, the gods have commanded me to interview creative and interesting people about their favorite gaming memories growing up. And we have Ryan and Nick and their producer Alex, who I think is part of the show as well. You should cut to him on camera.
He's controlling it, dude, and he's too shy.
Yeah.
They're one of my favorite podcasts, and I've listened to probably legitimately 75-80% of the episodes. A lot. I've listened to a lot. I catch up with them. They're great driving. Anytime I drive to my in-laws, it's sort of a tradition. It's Bledsoe said so on the way there and the way back. Catch up.
Hell yeah.
But I want you guys to explain what makes the podcast and each of you and your story creative and interesting.
Yeah, I don't even know where to begin.
Tell the people who you are.
Yeah, I guess we'll start with like a little bit of a background. So basically, back in 2007, my family started having experiences with these like really strange phenomenon. It was beings, beings of light, and as crazy as that sounds, it's like being talked about all over the world right now. It's like a really hot subject, and basically it flipped our lives upside down. And very shortly after we had the initial experiences, me and my siblings were children. It started with my dad, my oldest brother, who was 17 at the time. I was 13, my other brother 15, my sister was like 10. And my dad and my brother were out fishing on the Cape Fear River, and they came close to or face to face with these beings that had glowing red eyes, and they were like literally their bodies were glowing like the color of the moon. And they saw all kind of UFO phenomenon that looked like these massive egg-shaped, or my dad would say like it looked like an egg shape or a teardrop shape or a football. Like he always had these, like he couldn't put his finger on it, but it was oblong, like kind of ovular, and it had these like you could say like tentacles of light just like flowing all around. It was really weird. It was really kind of eldritch looking, and came really close to them, and it was just like a bone-chilling night. And I'm really paraphrasing the original event because I'm getting to like the podcast and where we are today, right? So long story short, after I would say about 10 months after that night that changed our lives, we would be as a family sitting down together watching TV, because this was a day that was really pre-social media. Facebook had only been out for a few years. YouTube had just come out in like 2006. People didn't have smartphones. It was a really like unplugged world. You know what I mean? And we're like, where do we learn about this? How do we find information? So we would watch UFO shows on TV as a family. Me and my other siblings had already been seeing orb phenomenon and things in the sky, and we knew it was real. So we're like, we got to learn. And anyway, long story short, one night we were watching this show, UFO Files, and there was a little blurb at the bottom of the screen at the end of the episode that said, if you've had a sighting, go to MUFON.com. So Dad reports a sighting at MUFON.com, and we had no clue that it was like a CIA front where they were gathering data on civilians who were having paranormal experiences. So cut to just like 6-7 months later, they're at our property. The Discovery Channel is filming a documentary. It was like a front operation with CIA and DIA operatives sent in to like make our story look really bad, smear us, and move on. And what they never anticipated is that we would keep having experiences and that the intensity would ramp up and that it would not go away, and here we are today. It's like the most researched, vetted, attempted to debunk anything you can think of that the government would do. They've tried. And now it's to the point today where like the official story coming forward from the government is virtually identical to our story. It's crazy, but yeah, I mean, it's just grown and gotten crazier by the year. So
I wonder. I don't want to turn this into like just the story, because we could go for hours and hours and hours. But I'm also trying to wondering how much context maybe people would be interested in. I just like, I've been listening to your podcast for a long time. I found your dad initially on his 4-part series interview with Richard Dolan. I think they're from like 2016, 2017. I don't know how old they are. They're older.
yeah, like 2019 maybe.
2019 maybe. And I was deep into the UFO topic, or the UAP topic, because I had a sighting in high school. And then the 2017 New York Times article sort of allowed me to give myself mental permission to revisit that. Like, I'm not crazy. I did see something, and then I became obsessed. And I think I've told Ryan this before. I was obsessed for a good 3 to 4 years and never came across your dad's name. But
Wow.
I'm listening to every night, going for a walk, 3 to 4 hours, just UAP podcasts, like just whatever name I could come up. But everything Richard Dolan had, then I would type in something like Jacques Vallée. All right, let me listen to everything that he's talked about. Okay, Lou Elizondo. Okay, George Knapp. Okay, Jeremy Corbett. Everybody that I get a hold of. And I don't remember. I think it was Lou Elizondo, like way later, that was just mentioned the name like Bledsoe. And I was like, that name sticks to your head. I'm like, I've never heard of an experiencer called Bledsoe. I thought I was pretty well versed in this. I found him on that 4-part series, and I definitely was open to the idea initially. But I wanted to say that I believe you guys. Number one, I've told you this. I 100% believe your story. I think you guys are saying what you've experienced. And I think if someone honestly listens to the scope of all the different content they could, over time, you'll realize that these people are being genuine. They're talking about the experiences they've had, and you'll see it not in the details like, oh, and it's cool that the DIA or the DOD and all of these people have come and there's receipts for that. What really put me over the edge is hearing you and your siblings talk about it on the podcast.
Cool.
Because
Interesting.
you can kind of, like, I have siblings, I have family, I have friends. And when you hear like you and Chris chumming it up and talking about like why he didn't talk about it for so long, and there was like something he said on the episode. For those who need context, the brother that experienced this with his dad didn't really talk about it for a long time. And then I think the first time he talked about it was on your podcast, right?
For the most part, yeah.
And he said something about like the being scaring him. He's like, yeah, that's why I say stay strapped, yo.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I was just could just tell like he had this experience he was talking about.
Yeah.
Like, this is genuine. And the one that really, really solidified it for me was hearing your little sister, who was like 9 or 10 at the time. And I have an 8 and a 9-year-old daughter, and hearing her, it wasn't about the orbs and all that stuff. What stuck out to her as a 10-year-old girl or 9-year-old girl was, one day my dad was different.
Yeah.
I had my dad before, and we had this relationship, and I'd play the piano. And then all of a sudden it was like, dad was just staring out at the sky all day, and he was different, and he was depressed, and all this stuff started happening, and people around us started treating us different, because she's little. She doesn't get it, right? She doesn't quite. And that, like, I could see my own daughter being like, oh, that's how she would process it too, if this happened to me. And it was those kind of details that to me are more, I don't want to say more compelling. You got to have receipts and all the other stuff you've talked about. But I think it's the human element. If you're open and you listen to you guys interact, and you realize these are just people like me, and this is how I would talk about it.
Right.
This is how it would be for me.
Yeah.
That's the real shit. Like, people can hear about like the receipts and who's been around and who who they've talked to and who's shown up and whatever. At the end of the day, that's just information. It's just
Yes.
data. It's just
Yeah.
information. You hear them talk about it, or you spend time around them, or just hear them tell their story. There's no doubt whatsoever. I mean, also, like, I've been around them for many, many years and I've seen stuff myself. So but I don't obviously have any problem believing it. I've seen it many, many times. But
That's
for
another thing. When you hear like the
outsider.
friends, like I've heard you and Ryan chum it up just the same way me and my friends would chum up about like an old memory where everyone agrees what happened, but they had slightly different perspectives or things that stuck out. And then like, this is the same way when I talk to my friends, like, do you remember when X, Y, and Z happened? No. Actually, this happened before that. And this detail stood out. I mean, it became obvious to me over time, like, oh my God. Like I believed it because I was already into the subject. I had an experience, but there's just this level where it's like, oh my God, this is real. Like it like settles in.
Yeah.
And
I think
then
people can connect and feel like when it's real. I mean, you're describing it right now. It's legitimate. Like, people can connect to the story and that's how you really know if something's legit. You can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You reminded me of us growing up when you said after you had your experience and you were obsessed for 4 years and you were like listening to every podcast you could find. That was us. That was us watching TV in 2007 being like, oh my God, we're watching UFO files, trying to learn what we could learn, And that was just a funny little parallel there.
Yeah, you've brought up also. I always forget. You've said the story like 2 or 3 times. We talked about it on the phone. It was Fallout 3 you were playing the first time NASA showed up.
Yeah. I was playing Fallout 3 and there was a ring at the door and it was this guy from NASA, Hal Pavemeier, and he's just like, hey, I'm with the NASA press corps, and I came from Cape Canaveral hoping to meet Chris Bledsoe. Is this the Bledsoe residence? I was like, yeah, let me call my dad, like honestly, like, Mom, NASA's here. Someone from NASA's here. And we get him on the phone and then it was dad's just like, keep him busy. I'll be there in an hour. He was out on the town somewhere. And from then on, the government was just in our lives still, like literally still to this day, like asking us questions, investigating, sometimes doing research, sometimes doing scientific investigations, things like that. I mean, it literally, like, I want to stress to your audience, like it not only never ceased, but year over year, it ramped up still to this day, where now you can go and look at the latest whistleblowers from the government and their story sounds literally identical to ours. I mean, there's elements of theirs that are different, but I mean, it's crazy. Like it's kind of hard to deny at this point that, like, it's real. Like I mean, of course I know that, but the people looking at this, it's like you put 2 and 2 together. It's like, oh my God, the government story is literally just like theirs. Like how else can
the story they've been telling for almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
Right. It's 18.
Yeah.
We're just 18. Past like 18 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always had the feeling that if someone took an honest look at the subject in general and looked at all the different experiencers, all the different sightings, just the sheer volume just in America. And then if you dive into Brazil, South America, France, Russia, there's a lot of good information that comes out of there. But like, people have been having experiences that are unexplainable forever. And that ties into, from my understanding, this experience your family had helped guide you guys to this direction of being, I don't want to say focused on, but I would classify your podcast as a spiritual podcast more than
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like esoteric stuff. I remember like getting really interested in the Rosicrucian stuff when you did a couple episodes on that. And then you did an episode on theosophy. And I started reading about theosophy and then like looking at books and like Keys of Solomon, like demons and angels. And it's just cool. It's all really, really cool. It's like Lord of the Rings, but maybe real.
It's true.
You don't say. Lord of the Rings. We're talking about that a lot lately.
It's true, dude.
It's dope as shit.
We're definitely not a UFO show.
No.
You
Yes,
It-
yes.
it's-
Even though our logo's a UFO, I'm wearing a UFO. We talk about UFOs. We are not a UFO show. We are people that genuinely have had thousands and thousands and thousands of UFO experiences. And we're like, all right, let's break this down. Where does this
Yeah.
come from? How can we explain this from a different lens? And we're exploring all of these topics in the periphery of the reality of UFO experiences. So we are kind of like a spiritual show. It's like a metaphysical hot pot of all these different topics, and we talk video games and movies and all kinds of stuff. And
Yeah, because you start to kind of figure out that there's a lot of overlap between like esoteric, occult, mysticism, like that type of shit, and pop culture.
yeah,
And
100%.
oh my, it's everywhere. It's
Everything in pop culture.
Everything.
Yeah.
TV, movies, video games, like fiction, like
everything.
everything is
Yeah.
steeped in it. And then like, towards the beginning of us doing the show, we were doing a lot of that.
Mhm.
That was like 90% of the show.
At first, yeah.
At first, it was mostly like relating the occult mysticism stuff to pop culture. And we started to be like, oh my God, it's endless. It's it never ends. And we started kind of exploring like what's happening? Like, why is everything occult? Why is everything symbolic?
Is it intentional?
Right.
Is it subconscious? I mean,
Yes.
we like to explore that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that we've been kind of trying to figure out is it intentional? Are these people like initiated with this information and they're trying to intentionally spread it to people for good or otherwise? Or are they receiving these like subconscious downloads of this information and it's just leaking into their art? I think there's examples of both.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll
Like
read
Darren Aronofsky is an example of intentional.
1,000%.
Yeah,
yes.
or Kubrick.
But then you have what's his name? Hideaki Anno, the guy who made Evangelion. Is that Evangelion?
I don't know his name, but
Yeah, like he says like
intentional.
He says it was unintentional.
But then if you research him, he was in a cult.
Exactly.
He was in a spiritual cult.
He's like, I don't know nothing about none of that
Yeah.
stuff, dude. I just thought it looked cool.
Yeah,
And
right.
It's
Come
what
on.
the fuck? Like, what are we talking about here? It's
Bro, anytime a Japanese creator uses like Christian biblical symbolism,
there's
it's
something.
intent. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
research.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's
No,
intentional.
It's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just cool. We love exploring that overlap.
Yeah, and then eventually we hit a point where we like, even though we still do some of the pop culture stuff, we hit a point where we were like, let's explore the source.
Yeah. Let's get
and-
more into the source first.
Yeah, let's dive into Rosicrucianism.
Yeah.
And it's like what you were just talking about, and
Mhm.
we've done a lot of that too. So it's really, we just have fun.
Yeah.
I think a little bit of both when it comes to pop culture and art. Speaking of the Rosicrucian episode, that inspired. I have a music project that you guys also, by the way, you guys do Twiceborn, a band. We should plug that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You got a badass fucking metal band.
Oh, thanks,
you.
dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, good shit. If you like heavy riffs,
if
you're into riffs.
if you're into really annoyingly heavy music, you probably like it. We've been working lately too.
Yes, we
so
have.
New stuff.
it's pretty heavy. Like you guys
It's pretty heavy.
definitely, yeah, like
We tone it down.
nah, don't do that.
We don't go all the way.
No, we do try to tone it down.
Yeah. We got to reel it in sometimes, but yeah, we have fun with it.
But yeah, that Rosicrucian episode, I was starting a new music project. It's all dark electronic, and I
Hell
built
yeah.
like a whole. It was so inspiring. It basically, I took that little bit and kind of built a fake cult religion, sort of loosely based around
Like Sleep Token.
your guys's like
Yeah.
Sleep Token.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what's crazy? I mean, they did it first and did it best, and they're huge.
Yeah.
When we started the project, I didn't know who they were, and we put out our first single, Veilit. One of the first things we got back was like, "You guys remind me of Sleep Token," and I'm like, "Who's this?" And then I discovered one of the greatest, coolest bands of all time.
They're dope.
They're dope. My niece, my brother is the other guy in the group. My
Nice.
niece's
Cool.
daughter. She said he sounds like he sings in cursive.
Yeah, I see that a lot on the internet for
I'm
sure.
like, that's pretty cool. I think that's a good. But anyway, the point being is I'm not near as knowledgeable about the occult as you are and other people. I just pick up. I think it's fascinating. Kind of like I think Darth Vader's cool, but I don't want to act like Darth Vader, but I want to
Yeah.
look like Darth Vader and be cool like Darth Vader. So you get into
I'm in
like
the same boat. I'm in the same boat as you. Like Ryan is the info guy. He's got all the info. He does all the deep diving and all the info. And I'm just like, that's sick as fuck, dude. Like
Dude.
that's my whole role on the show is to just be like, that's fucking cool.
I'm not even that knowledgeable in the occult, to be honest. I just talk about things that interest me at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't have.
No, you do have a genuine like seeker personality and mindset where you actually really are compelled to dig and find this information like right now. You've always been that way. And then you just talk about it.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of here to be like the bridge between that and the audience.
you are a good like liaison between the listener who maybe needs someone to ask a question because we don't follow. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point, I don't even remember what I was saying, but the people will sometimes respond, and I'm extrapolating to your question about how much of pop culture and occult is intentional versus seeping through. And maybe it seeps through in a way where you don't really know the details. You just kind of like something, you're drawn to something, you think it's cool. And then other people will tease out details that you never intended. But in hindsight, you're like, those details are kind of there, but it sort of happened. I didn't master plan this. It just sort of worked out that way.
Yeah.
And that might be the seeping thing. Cause I think I probably come across like there's some sort of master plan about this brand or this music project, but really it's like, I think this is cool. I think what Ryan talked about is cool. I think what this guy talked about is cool. I kind of put them together, mix it with this image. Like this, as far as I'm thinking, is it cool or not?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, this looks cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way. I mean, it's a way. It is a very effective way, in my opinion, to do art in general. Like just collect a bunch of shit that you think is cool and put it together in a new way.
I'll give you an example of exactly what we're talking about.
Okay.
How it's like not necessarily intentional, but coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This morning when I rolled out of bed, as you know, I do. I first wake up. I'm fuzzy and I'm like, let me look at, my phone for a few minutes. I'm not ready to get up. You know how it goes. I'm not really a morning person. So I'm looking at my phone this morning and I told my wife, I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. There was another video game just announced that is like a AAA title where you fight King Arthur and the Knights of the
Oh, that shit looks sick. What was it called?
Bro, there's two of them.
There's two?
There's two games in the last like week or two that were just announced.
That's state of play?
I'm not sure.
There's that Chinese one. I know it was just announced at the State of Play. Like
yes,
yesterday.
There was a Chinese one. That's the one I just saw, and then there was another one I saw last week. That's exactly like Hades, but it's a 4-player co-op, and instead of it being the Greek gods, it's Arthur and the Round Table. You know Hades, the roguelike?
I've been playing it lately.
So there's going to be a King Arthur one that's 4-player co-op where you are fighting literally the Knights of the Round Table. Yeah. And
that's not the one that's in third person, is it?
No.
Then I saw the other
one I saw this morning.
I saw that.
Or yesterday morning was the third person. And I got out of bed and I was like, Jenny, this is what I'm talking about. Tell me how this is a subject that you rarely, if ever, see in games. And now in the last week, there's like 2 games that are about King Arthur and the Holy Grail and the Knights of the Round Table. There's some force somewhere that's like, all right, turn the dial on this archetype.
You always see it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it's true.
There does seem to be like trends in pop culture. Like, it's like you have a wave of this subject matter or this archetype or this theme, and then they kind of ebb and flow and come in cycles. I think you guys have been on this dude's show. He's from Salt Lake, the Isaac Weishaupt.
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh, he's the best.
Yeah, he's a Salt Lake dude. He's been following this occult.
He's amazing.
Thing
he's how I learned about this.
He's the best.
Yeah,
he's my big inspiration. One of them. I love Isaac.
Yeah, that's a good podcast if people are interested in that. We can definitely get into more. He just did one on the whatever the most recent award ceremony was. I can't remember.
He just did one on the Super Bowl.
And
on the Super
Grammys,
Bowl too,
maybe.
Yeah,
and he did one on the Grammys too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love
dope.
his stuff. He's awesome.
Yeah,
he's so awesome.
Now, if I was gonna recommend an episode for the podcast, first one to check out, which one should they check out? What would you recommend?
Our show?
Yeah,
I mean, I would probably just say, ooh, that's tough.
That is tough. I don't know. What do you think?
Maybe the recent one with Dad, because I feel like
and
the reason I say that honestly is because it's relevant to what's going on in the world, but also within that episode, we talk about. Have you heard it yet, Cade?
Which one?
The recent one with my dad.
Yeah, what number?
Oh, yes.
183.
Yes.
183.
I would
That
recommend
was-
that one because in that episode, not only do we talk about our experiences and how it relates to what's going on in the world, but we also give a really big, broad overview of the phenomenon, meaning the UFO phenomenon, how it has morphed throughout history, and how our experiences as a family have ramped up over time to where at the end of that episode, Nick literally even said, wow, this conversation felt like when I was a kid at your house again, and we would just talk about this stuff all night.
It literally did. Like for a second, I was having like deja vu.
I think that episode with the recent one with my dad is probably like the most candid conversation that he's ever given publicly. Not that our show is only about my dad or only about talking about him. He's only been on the show 3 times, but I think if I had to give it first, it would be that one because it would be like a really quick crash course on like who we are, what we're about, what's happening
right now.
right now, and what's been happening. We even go back to the 1800s and how like the phenomenon appeared as blimps and airships and how it's morphed over time. And now everybody's talking about orbs, which started with us. So
I was thinking about the blimps and the airships thing because speaking of pop culture and Japanese people pulling inspiration from, I guess you would call phenomena or esoteric, whatever. The concept of the airship with like the blimp and the propellers, I don't know the history of that, but I do know, like you said, that when people experienced phenomena they couldn't understand, that's what they would describe it as. They wouldn't describe it as planes or UFOs or saucers.
it was ships.
It was ships with blimps and propellers.
Yeah.
And then if you like play all these like Final Fantasy games, what do all the airships look like?
They're literally all blimps. By the
They're
way,
all blimps with propellers.
yes. By the way, you'd be proud of me, Cade. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time right now.
You know what's crazy?
OG or remake?
OG.
Bro, this is synchronistic to me right now because this morning, I think the King Arthur thing that I was just telling you about was yesterday morning. You know, I'm really hazy in the morning, but I would tell you for a fact, this morning I saw a reel. I've never played Final Fantasy VII. I've never beaten a Final Fantasy game. The only ones I've ever played are 10 and 15. And I never beat them, you know. But okay, so I don't know much about 7 other than Cloud and Sephiroth. And this morning I saw a reel, and I guess Sephiroth is like putting Cloud under mind control. You know what I'm talking about? And there's this girl on his team, and she like flashes him, and it breaks him out. I was like, "Is this real? Is this real?" Bro,
the flashing part not, but there's mods.
It's not real.
No, not that.
Well, I saw.
Was it the girl with the bow in her hair?
Yeah, and it didn't show it.
No.
Okay, well, I saw that reel. I was like, wow, I didn't know this game was like this.
That's not exactly how that moment happened in the game.
Wow, I totally.
They're making a joke. They're clowning the game.
Well, what actually happened then?
That's a big spoiler.
That's like one of the biggest spoilers of all games.
Probably like the biggest.
Well,
of all video games,
look,
ever.
I'm never gonna play it. If you don't want to spoil for your audience, I understand.
Spoiler alert!
But
Spoiler
you
alert!
can spoil
Oh
it.
no,
She gets fucking stabbed, dude. She gets
ice.
By
she gets
Sephiroth?
skewered by Sephiroth.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
and
like
his-
the other version.
and his fucking 20-foot long sword.
He
Wow.
drops down from the sky in one of the most epic shots. I mean, if you played that
Oh.
game when you were 13 or whatever when it came out, that would
That would have
just-
been like I Am Your Father kind of.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
was
that.
level.
Because,
yeah.
and dude, and hey, very, very mystical, very esoteric, a lot of occult stuff in Final Fantasy in
so
general,
much.
but really packed into Final Fantasy VII big time.
Yeah.
Aerith is the character's name, and she is very like she has like foresight kind of. She's like psychic. She has like low key like psychic abilities.
Mhm.
She's
And she-
connected to Mother Earth essentially.
Cool.
They
Yeah.
describe it that way, and
Yeah.
she's like angelic. I mean, she's is she one of the
She's an ancient.
She's an ancient. Yeah.
Yes.
There are these beings called ancients in Final Fantasy VII, and they're descendants of kind of like the original. Is it like the original humans, or is it a race that came before the humans that they descended
That I'm
from?
not sure. I'm not like a full expert on the deep Final
The deep
Fantasy
lore.
VII. I know
But
that they were like ancient beings that
and
are
they
pretty much
have
non-extinct.
like psychic abilities, and they
yes,
like radiate light, and they're like kind of like gods.
Wow.
That's
That's cool.
And so the ancients are descendants of those. So she's low key like kind of an angelic character. She's like very innocent. She kind of exudes like
kind of like Gandalf.
kind of in a way, yeah,
Yeah.
kind of. She's sort of, but it's I don't know. It's different than that. She's very like pure-hearted and like divine feminine energy for sure. And then fucking Sephiroth, bro. Oh, that
One of the
he-
greatest antagonists. I would say,
I'm learning,
Yeah.
that he is.
Yeah, for sure. He's legendary.
The
He's in
concept
Smash,
of
he's
that
in Kingdom
world.
Hearts.
Yeah.
I would be curious your thoughts on this, Ryan, because I know you like the concept of the world is that the planet has what's called the life stream. It's like it's the lifeblood or maybe the blood or the soul of the planet, but it's actually all souls are reincarnated and the planet itself is a being, which is all stuff your fucking dad has talked about.
Yeah, this is
for
real
sure.
shit.
You know, this game came out in 97, 98,
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
And the planet itself is
But
a
it's
living being.
Japanese, bro.
Yeah.
This
Japanese,
kind of
dude.
stuff is not esoteric in the East. It's
It's
you know,
normal shit
it's
to
normal. Yeah, it's more normal.
them. It's true.
And actually,
Yeah.
a lot of esoteric information comes from the East.
Mhm. Oh
know?
yeah, the ancient shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
For
where
sure.
it's like kind of common practice over there. I
Mhm.
mean, there are esoteric arts. I don't want to be generalizing, but it's
Dude,
it's more common there.
honestly, if nothing else, you should maybe look into playing the remake of Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it plays like Kingdom Hearts. It plays like it's not turn based. It plays like you played 15.
I loved 15.
Yeah,
it was
but-
just so long, and I just.
But
felt-
bro, it's about like this low key like anti-terrorist organization. They're kind of like a terrorist organization, but like anti-terrorist organization who they're like blowing up these big like reactors and stuff that are siphoning the like
Life
soul energy from the
Yeah.
planet. It's called Mako energy or
Mako,
something like
yeah.
that. They're like sucking the soul out of the planet.
Yeah.
And so this group, are they called Avalanche?
Avalanche. Yeah.
Yeah, they go around and blowing shit up and to like stop. And Barrett is one of the main characters. He's always running around. We gotta save the planet. We gotta save the planet. They're killing the planet. Like it's awesome. It's
it's
so
iconic.
sick.
It's definitely.
It is
iconic.
so iconic. Yeah, I've been really loving it. I wanted to play the OG before I earn the remake, but that's
Yes.
also because I've just kind of been on like a retro gaming kick. I just beat Chrono Trigger for the first time. And I was like, I need more.
Welcome to the other side of one of the greatest JRPGs ever, dude.
It's a bittersweet feeling.
You'll never. I told you I'm jealous that you got to play it for the first time. You'll never have that experience again.
Yeah, and
You can replay it, but it'll never be the same.
and there will probably never be another Chrono game ever. Sadly,
Probably not. I mean, they might try to siphon it. It will never happen. They'll never recapture the magic because that game was this weird coalescence of three of the biggest creators in Japan at that
Wasn't it
time.
made by Akira Toriyama?
He did
the
the
art.
Oh,
Yeah.
just the okay. I thought he
Character
made the
design.
game.
the art direction, but it was
And then you have
It-
Sakaguchi, Final Fantasy, and then
Uh-huh.
the Dragon Quest guy.
uh-huh.
I always forget.
Also,
his name.
art by Akira Toriyama.
Yes,
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
art
My
by-
my goat, my hero.
Did
by the way.
did you know the factoid, Cade, that Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VII were originally the same game?
Huh?
I did not know that. No.
Dude, okay, yeah, this is pretty crazy. I have my boss is like he's got to be one of the biggest Final Fantasy fans of all time. He's one of these people who his mind is like a steel trap and he knows all the information about this and like you can go and look it up and it's all legit. They started as one game, Chrono Trigger, and that's why like there's a lot of similarities. If you kind of think about it, like there's a lot of similarities between the two. But they kind of branched off into okay, they had these time travel elements, and then they also had this like the whole Mako and the like energy of the planet thing, and it was all one thing. And then they were like, all right, well, let's maybe split this into two different teams. So we'll do a time travel game, and then we'll do like a spiritual anti-terrorist game.
That's cool.
And yeah, and so yeah, but they were originally the same game.
You know, I
Mm-hmm.
love. I'm sorry, I know I just cut you off, but I wanted to say I love games that have like a time mechanic, like Majora's Mask.
Oh,
And dude, the new game that was just announced, the vampire one that we were talking about a few weeks ago, that's like from the ex devs of CD Projekt Red.
oh yeah. I
Dawn
forget.
Walker.
Oh,
Yes,
and you
what's
have
that
30
called?
days. I think it's called
Dawn Walker.
yes, yes.
But dude, you have 30 days.
Yeah.
Like no run will ever be the same because once you start the game, you have 30 days. And every little choice you make will avalanche into all these other choices, and then at the end of the 30 days, it's over. And I
That's
love stuff like that,
It's
dude.
so cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I can't. You brought up Majora's Mask. I can't think of another game. I mean, I know there's more games that have that set timeline. A lot of Persona games are like that, which are also so esoteric. It's all about. I don't even know how to. I wouldn't say it's like the lesser key of Solomon demons. It's basically like a Japanese twist
on
to
that.
like Western demonology, but they've
That's
kind
cool.
of created their own thing. But
They always do it better than we do.
They do it. It's always
true.
cooler.
They do. Yeah.
It's always cooler.
It's true.
It's way
dude.
cooler. Yeah.
It is always cooler.
You like go to school and you have like basically the game. Most of them take place over like one school year, and by the time the school year's over, like the game ends, and however prepared you are and whatever, it's over. Yeah, it's a cool mechanic. When now you said you're 31, how old are you, Nick?
30. I'll be 31 in
These are
June.
babies. Okay, so you were like 95.
I was 93.
Yo, you look like you're 30.
I'm
trying.
It's all that gaming.
It's the gaming.
It's
It's the gaming.
the gaming.
It's also I have a CRT filter on my OBS. It hides the blemishes. It's old school CRT.
I've been playing. I played Chrono Trigger with a CRT filter, and I've been playing Final Fantasy with one as well.
Yeah, that's the way to do it if you're going to play a retro one.
I learned from you.
Did you get that Retro Crisis filter?
I did.
Yes, dude. He's
I
the
did.
best. Shout out to Retro
I
Crisis.
am a huge fan of your content, dude.
He really is. Dude.
I really am.
He really has watched your show like even before you reached out.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Well, I'm glad I had an in because it's like, I should tell the audience I've been chasing these guys for almost 2 years.
And I've been watching your content for probably that long.
Yeah. This
Like-
is why we had to do it this way, man. It's just we really do we're in over our heads with our schedule. And you know what? It struck me. I was like, you know what? Why don't we just do a swap cast so we can be on each other's shows,
And just save time, do one.
Yeah, save time and actually do it. Yeah. So that's my bad on the 2-year thing. But
it worked out because your family's story, because people are going to check it out, and it's like at a different place of legitimacy now than it was 2 years ago. Like
even in the last 30 days.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, dude. It's like hard to wrap your mind around, at least for me, being obsessed with the topic since 2017. And then now I never thought we'd be where we're at. I thought it was just going to be like my whole life. It's kind of this fringe thing, and we get little pieces here and there. Yeah, and I think what's going to happen next in the topic. So this is my sort of bird's eye view. The first things we had to accept was that the phenomena is real. It's not just swamp gas and lens flares and bokeh, right? We got past that. I think pretty much everybody accepts, okay, there's shit in the sky, there's shit in the ocean. The next step is for people to accept that at least some of it's not us. It's not conventional. And once that happens, I think once we get a critical threshold of people who realize that, okay, not only is there shit in the sky, but it's not just Russian and Chinese spy shit. Like that's what people say. It's just technology. It's us. They don't want to be open to maybe there's something more, admit that there's something more. But the moment it dawns on you that no, there's stuff out there that's not us, that's not conventional, you're going to have to start. Where are you going to go next? You're going to start listening to experiencers.
Oh,
because that's the next place to go. And I think people like your dad, I think the profile, I think he's on the cusp, and him and other prominent experiencers, because once people accept oh my God, it's not us, where are they going to go get, I got to listen to the people who have had fucking contact.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to learn more. And so I think you guys are going, I think in the next year, it's going to be like stratosphere time for growth.
You mean for us?
Just for the subject in general,
and
okay. Because of that, by you as extent, yes.
Well, it's happening now, to be honest. It's already unfolding, and I completely agree. But I'll tell you where we go next. The reality that people have to learn to accept is not just that this is real and that it's not us and that it's something else out there, but here's the genuine, true reality of what this phenomenon is. And the way that people need to learn to understand it is that it is a type of phenomenon that whether you know that it exists or not, it is aware of you and your thoughts. It is spiritual. I'm not saying it's particularly this or that or the other, but that it comes from another dimension. They transcend our understanding of material reality, that they live in another place that maybe is a mental place, maybe it's a spiritual place, an etheric place, and that they communicate through telepathy. To read the thought of individuals on the planet who don't even know that telepathy is real, which, by the way, that door's been cracked open with the telepathy tapes. If you haven't heard that yet,
That's
I'm
popping
on
up right
episode
now.
4 now. It's insane.
Insane.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
It's so
Like,
crazy.
have you been listening?
Yeah, the first
It's-
two.
Yeah, dude, it only gets crazier each episode.
It's
Like,
it's wild.
It's freaking insane.
I was already kind of bullish on like there's got to be some sort of. I just thought I was open to the idea, but not only are the telepathy tapes, but in the UFO world, like the Jesse Michaels, the Julian Dory, Danny Jones, like these type of guests that are coming on, they're talking. The whistleblowers are saying the government is looking for. They call them psionic assets. They don't use telepathy or psychic, right? Because that's
Well, they have to use neurolinguistic programming
Yeah.
to make you think a certain way, and
So
like, look over here. I, on the other
Yeah.
hand, it's smoke and mirrors.
But they, this term psionic assets has now been coming out, and that it's real, and the government has been recruiting people forever. Like it's so I think it's all coalescing, and I think people are realizing, just as you said, oh my God, material reality is only a piece of the puzzle.
These beings fully transcend material
Yes.
reality, and they do read thoughts, and they're aware of your thoughts and your intentions. And that's what people need to learn to accept if they want to understand this phenomenon. If you think about it as something that just inhabits a physical ship and it comes from another, physical place, I'm sorry, but you're that's not the reality of the situation. Maybe those kinds of things do exist somewhere, but I can tell you with like provable certainty that that is not what is happening now that we are aware of. Not only have I experienced this phenomenon many thousands of times, far away, sometimes up close, but many thousands of times, it appears. Nick has seen it, Alex has seen it, ground level, sky level, whatever.
Yeah.
In the house, out the house. Not only have I seen the dimensionality of this phenomenon so many times, but also I have been point blank told by literal, like, high level operatives of the CIA, like as high as it gets, like 2 or 3 in command of the whole freaking agency kind of people, tell me like it's dimensional, 95% of the stuff out there is fake, and keep telling your story like, we've been studying you the whole time, like every intelligence agency in the world is studying your family. We know you're telling the truth. We want to know why the beings interact. That kind of conversation has been happening for nearly 2 decades now. Not only that, but now the conversation, even yesterday, there was some congressman or some, I don't remember her name, like Luna or something, comes out and has this big press release. She's like, it's dimensional. It's dimensional. They're all saying now it's dimensional. It's dimensional. It's going in the way that we have been shouting publicly for like 12 years. Hey, this is where it's headed. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's dimensional. They transcend material reality. It's spiritual.
I think if people are, there's maybe some baggage depending on your upbringing to the word spiritual.
For sure.
I would. That's why I use the word. It's non-conventional. It's
Uh-huh.
kind of like a neutral word. Like, hey, just accept that there's more to what you think reality is and you've been taught. And just, I think if you just crack that open and just accept, like, okay. And the reason I think that is I grew up, I know, Ryan, you said you want to talk about this a little bit.
Well,
but
only what you're willing to.
yeah. I grew up Mormon, and you're like in this bubble, basically. I grew up in Utah. Long story short, I didn't know anyone who wasn't Mormon until I went and did the whole mission thing and wore the name tag and all that shit. But once the door opens and you think like, oh shit, maybe I'm in a cult, or maybe this isn't what it claims it. Once you open it and start looking into it, it's like actually pretty easy, and it's you figure it out pretty quick. I feel like the phenomena is the same way. We have 50, 70, 80 years of programming as a culture, especially in America, to discredit, and you're a wacko and you're a whack job. And imagine all the poor people like your dad and your family and experiencers who have been gaslit to hell and back. And the truth is, most reporters, most experiences are unreported because there is no benefit to talking about your experience for most people. You just get shunned, and there's such a high social cost. So there's so many cases already, and I bet that's like 10% of the experiences every day. Every day, a human being on planet Earth is having some sort of mystical, unexplainable experience.
Absolutely.
Every day.
Yeah.
It's happening nonstop lately.
Yes.
Yeah, and to be clear, like we're not the only people that have, you know, paranormal type of experiences. I just think that I think, like, my honest take here, this is just me being candid. My honest take is that these beings knew, for whatever reason, like, these are good people to really shake them up and like give them a story to tell, because they're resilient people and they won't back down and they'll go all the way until the job is done. I think that the reality is there are not a lot of people out there who are as tight knit as my siblings and I, and you know, like, and our family. Like, it nearly broke apart many, many, many times over this, but for some reason it never fully did, and we always bounced back. And every year the experiences have ramped up in intensity, and I think it's like whatever reason this played out for us was in a way so that we would just kind of have, you know, data, proof, evidence, all this corroboration and all this stuff, so that we could just kind of help people see the bigger picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that family dynamic is back to what I was saying at the beginning. So I didn't bring that up, but not only is hearing you and your siblings talk, but hearing each of your dad, you, Chris, Emily, even Nick, talk about different challenges. You guys have the 5 dark years you've talked about, and it's no, you guys have always been very what's the word, gracious or refined about implying that, yes, family relationships, I think it's pretty heavily implied that your mom and dad had some pretty like strong resistance over the
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
And so it's like, this is not some made up story. Like, this is real people dealing with real shit, and you get all the good and the bad. And I think the more time you either read the book or watch podcasts or listen to your podcast, I think it becomes apparent that now that your story is genuine. And then if you accept that, okay, this one person's story is genuine, well, then maybe someone else has also had an experience.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you just start realizing, like, yeah, like you said, oh my God, there is more to reality, and it's happening all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well,
And
since time began,
yeah.
you know, like, there's scrolls and manuscripts from all over the world of like seeing beings and things like that. Like, this isn't new.
That's when you start to put together the pieces that it is a spiritual thing, and it transcends like religion and that, you know, that stuff is, it's because you find things in every ancient religion or, you know, mystery tradition, even before there were religions, you know, there's overlap, there's aspects of this phenomenon in every single one of those ancient mystery traditions, and you're like, what, wait a minute, what is going on? I mean, all of them that you can think of. An easy example is Buddhism. They describe the Buddhas, the like ascended beings.
Yeah, and the devas.
The devas as well. Yeah, they're like these little angelic light beings that fly around in the sky. It's like, what does that sound like?
Fairies.
Fairies. Yeah,
and
fairies is
jinn,
another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's tons of them, and that points you to that. Oh shit, that we're talking about the same shit.
I think the problem that people have is like the attachment to a certain religion, which is cultural,
for sure.
And I think that people can't grasp. I mean, generally, like, people have a hard time grasping that this is a phenomenon that is very symbolic, because things that are spiritual are symbolic, more so than they are literal. And that'll make sense to people who really know what I'm talking about. But this is a thing that transcends language even. And, you know, where someone says God, and then someone says Brahma, and then someone says Allah, and then someone says Yahweh, all these people are offended at each other. No, that's not right. Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's just different people from around the world trying to explain the divine in the terminology and cultural lens that they have. But what if it really did? What if it wasn't God only showed up to the Israelites and they're the chosen people? But what if it's really like, you know, God is truly for everybody, and for thousands of years, people everywhere have been trying to explain this phenomenon that's been going on. Maybe the Israelites and all the stories in the Bible were very real, some of these stories, and they had a great story. And over time, it's just been so conflated to be like, you know, now we're killing each other, and millions and millions and millions of people have been killed over imaginations of God that come from different cultural understandings. You know what I'm saying? But maybe
Yeah.
it transcends all. I'm not saying like the Bible's fake or this is fake. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying the opposite, that maybe there's truth to
All of it.
all of it, or at least some of it.
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know?
there's a flood myth in like every culture around the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's
Yeah.
probably some big ass floods that happened. Was it literally the entire earth and 2 of each animal got knocked? No, obviously, like, let's be real. But there was a flood.
Yeah. There's
There's
also
probably multiple floods.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's also like I think a dozen or more different religions or mystery traditions that describe beings that are almost exactly like Jesus Christ in every way, down to like the birthday, down to being a carpenter, down to born of a virgin, like almost every single detail
Yep.
across so
Death
many
and
different
rebirth.
yes, the death and rebirth across so many different cultures, like down to the birthday.
Yeah.
The winter solstice, like almost every detail of Jesus and his life is down to like ages and locations. It's like it's the same thing detailed across different eras, different ages, different cultures, different religions. I think maybe part of the folly is when we want to take everything literally.
Yes.
We want
Yes.
desperately to have a roadmap. Like, tell me exactly what I need to do.
Yeah.
Tell me exactly what I need to do so that I can't fuck it up. But it's like, well, you're like, that's part of the folly is thinking you have to do it an exact specific way because there is no exact, there's no list of rules and specific, say this Hail Mary or pray and bow towards this direction every day or there's no specific shit like that. It's
more of a like a personal connection.
yeah, exactly. I think the folly is when we want to do it literally.
Yes,
and if you follow it literally, most texts say don't believe the other ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, kill
them.
Everyone
kill
else
them.
is bullshit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. If you look into like the mystery traditions and we do go into a lot of that kind of stuff on our show. Like we have a whole wisdom tradition series, which I've actually been thinking the next one would either be Rudolf Steiner or Rosicrucianism. Whenever we get to the time where we'll do one.
Nice.
The more you dive into these kinds of things and read these kinds of texts and learn about this body of knowledge, it's pretty clear. It's pretty evident that things that are concerning spiritual mysteries, the spiritual reality are symbolic. That doesn't mean not true. That doesn't mean not real. It means that the comprehension of such things transcend the literal thinking. Like
it's beyond us. We can't comprehend
it's beyond
it.
fathom. So therefore, the only way we can fathom is through symbol.
Abstract representation.
Yes.
Like an artistic depiction.
Yes.
Through fiction, through that medium. It's real true shit, but like not down to every little nitty-gritty detail. It's like when you look that closely through a microscope, it's like, dude, you're losing the point. You've missed the point now. You're looking too closely into it.
You can't see the whole forest because you're looking at the one tree, dude.
At the tree, catch the vibes.
Yeah.
Catch the vibes, dude.
Yeah.
Is there a game either one of you have played that tackles these religious subjects in a way that really stood out to you? You're like, okay, maybe the creators of this game are on my same level or on a similar wavelength. Anything that stands out to you? Because I know you both have talked about it. I've heard you talk about it on your show. I know you brought up Kingdom Hearts and Zelda. Is there anything where you're like, okay, this is some real shit in terms of the stuff I'm interested in? Someone's tapping into a similar vein here.
Oh, 1,000%. And I feel like I don't know that any one game just kind of like covers it all. I think what it is I can think of a bunch of different examples of games that hone in on either one aspect or one specific like mystery tradition. Like when I think Kingdom Hearts, I think Gnosticism. It's like a lot of the details are almost directly pulled from Gnosticism. This whole like the Kingdom Hearts being the collective consciousness of all sentient beings. The idea of going within yourself, your heart, to access and converse with your higher self, in order to awaken. It's like, oh my God.
Well, it's also like all the light and dark.
Absolutely.
And, they even have like on Kingdom Hearts 3, there's like these, I haven't finished the game, but there's these godlike guys and they're like playing chess, and it's got the checkerboard symbolism, which was, Templar Knights. They were Gnostics, and very, very esoteric.
Yeah, there's tons.
Aren't there like 13 people in the order, the nobodies?
There's
or whatever?
13 people
or Organization 13.
Yeah, Organization 13.
Yeah.
And
which
then,
is a Templar thing.
Yeah, and there's 7. It's like 13 darknesses and 7 lights, and there's this ancient prophecy of their endless struggle, but their eventual clash where the light will win against all odds. And like there's so much that feels like it's directly ripped from Gnosticism. That, I mean, dude, there's a freaking, one of the games is Dream Drop Distance, is like they literally have to go unconscious and dive into their subconscious. Oh, dude, and
Persona.
And yes, and like move through their memories and stuff in order to like reach a heightened like their higher self, in order to access and become their higher self in the waking world. They have to literally dive into their subconscious. It is mystical as shit, and it just reminds me a lot of Gnosticism.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say, like, specifically to your question, is there one game where I feel like, wow, this is like so on my level?
There's so many.
But one game that I did want to talk about that I thought was really cool, and I do think there is a lot of like Japanese developers or artists seeing Western esoteric concepts and be like, this is really cool.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know that maybe Kingdom Hearts is one thing, but I don't know that they're always trying to like, teach you a message. In anime, for sure. I think anime is a different. We could do a whole episode on on anime and the esoteric themes in it. But Devil May Cry, I think it's.
I was playing that today.
Hey,
what?
Yeah,
Devil May Cry 5.
Not. I downloaded 5 like 2 days ago. I'm doing a Devil May Cry video. So
nice.
I didn't know that. That's crazy. Another little synchronicity there. Well, I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't.
No, I've already played it.
He's played them all for sure.
Yeah,
this is a pro.
Do you do playthroughs?
No, I do either like how to take old games and kind of get them running better on modern hardware, or I do some like art. I'm doing a Beauty of series where I take a camera hack for a game. You can detach the camera, and then I just get like cinematic shots of the different environments.
Cool.
And then I edit them together to music.
I'm
doing
awesome.
that in
I love those.
That's really cool.
Oh, it's sick.
I'm definitely gonna like start peeping your content.
But Devil May Cry 5 is it's the RE engine, and I don't want to. There's a I wouldn't say it's Final Fantasy 7 level twist, but there's a huge twist to that game. Are you playing it right now? Like
I already beat it.
Okay, I think we can talk about it, but
absolutely. Well, last year, I don't know if you've seen this episode, but last year we had the voice of Dante on our show, Ruben Langdon.
I didn't even know that. I fucking missed it. So I need to go back.
He's a very cool guy. And
he was so nice.
Yeah, and he's a friend of mine, and he's really into the UFO stuff. And I think he reached out to me, or I was introduced to him, and I was like, dude, you got to come on the show. So I got Devil May Cry 5. I played it. I beat it in like 2 days or something. I was hooked. And yeah, if you don't mind me talking about the spoiler.
Go ahead.
The thing about that game that I thought was really cool was that there was this emergence of the Qliphoth, or it's like Kabbalah symbolism, right? And like, long story short, he ascends and becomes this, like, I guess, I mean, he's like a demon, but he's kind of like an angel, when he like transforms. His brother and then this other kid, I can't remember his name because I haven't played the game in a year. It's not Virgil. Yeah, not the emo kid.
He
the
turns
other one.
into Virgil.
Is it Nero?
Nero, yeah. Nero, correct. Yeah.
Nero.
That's the other. That's like Dante's nephew, I think. Laura.
Yeah, something like that, or cousin. Yeah. And he like awakens and has his moment. But long story short, they go to the top of the Qliphoth tree. Nero awakens. He becomes this like godlike being, and they fight Virgil, whatever. And then I can't remember exactly like who beat who. I think it was like long story short, they go all the way down into hell at the bottom of the Qliphoth tree where you fight his brother Virgil in his fully awakened state. And then it's like, actually, they got to the top when they went all the way down to the bottom and then all the way back up, which is like Dante's Inferno or the Divine Comedy or As Above, So Below. So like, long story short, I thought that was really cool, like an artistic choice where the whole game you're trying to climb the tree and then you climb the tree and we're like, oh, actually, I have to go all the way down to the bottom of hell to really be at the top of the tree.
Yes.
And therefore, you've escaped hell and then you go back to the top. So it's like, that's really paraphrasing it because it's been over a year since I played it. But the symbolism was very Kabbalah
Like the Tree of Life.
Yeah, it's literally
the Kabbalah Tree of Life.
Yeah, but it's Qliphoth, which is
Right.
like, it's like an emergence of evil energy in
Mhm.
Kabbalah,
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool how literally at the end of the game, you get all the way to the top and it's like, actually you're at the bottom,
Yeah, yeah.
you
yeah.
know, and you spend 10 hours fighting up the tree and then you go all the way to the bottom, final boss. And then it's like, whoa, it was literally like Dante's Inferno where they go all the way to the depths of hell to find, it's a metaphor. In other words, let me back up. So I'm not going in circles. I think the metaphor here or the esoteric wisdom is that like, in order to awaken or to, become enlightened, you have to go through the depths of hell and make it on the other side. But in other terms, it's like you have to dive into your subconscious.
Mhm.
You have to face your trauma, your inner demons. You have to transmute them to not be traumas or demons anymore, but to be strengths, gifts, whatever. Like you have to purge the traumatic association that you have with these things, transmit them from darkness to light. It's like going to the depths of hell and then you go all the way through and then you come out on the other side and it's like, actually, I'm in heaven,
Mhm.
Yeah, and then side point,
symbolic.
on the Kabbalah Tree of Life, do you know what all the little nodes on the tree are
Sephiroth.
called? They're called Sephiroth.
I jumped the gun there, but
Each one.
yeah,
The
I
no-
did not really. Is
The
that?
no, yeah.
I never looked where that name came.
Look, he's
Yeah,
googling
there's
it.
Sephiroth.
He's
I thought
googling
they
it.
just made it up.
Hey, you want to know another
Yeah, dude.
mind-blowing one that I found out like a few weeks ago? You know the anime Full Metal Alchemist?
Oh yeah.
Have you seen that, Cade? Do you watch anime at all?
Yeah, it's on. I guess it's. Sorry, I can't. I'm like a terrible multitasker. So
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Sephiroth. It's Sephiroth are described as a channel of divine creative life forces. Yeah,
It's true, dude.
Yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
it's like the different dimensions of reality or whatever. The Sephiroth.
we talked about. I guess it's part of it. It's a part of I can never say this. Evangelion as
Yeah.
well.
It's also
Part of that?
yes, it's also a part of Evangelion. Yeah, exactly.
I did not
Kabbalah
know that.
Kabbalah type stuff comes up a lot in pop culture. I
Mhm.
find
Oh yeah, it's
Um,
very cool.
yeah.
But in Full Metal Alchemist,
Ah,
his
love that show.
so you know how like the main guy in the end, it's Hohenheim. That's his dad, right?
Yeah.
That's Edward and Alphonse's
Alphonse,
dad,
yeah.
Hohenheim. In real ancient, I guess it's like Renaissance era or whenever the Middle Ages, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
1400s, the medieval ages. Hohenheim was the birth name of Paracelsus, the renowned alchemist. And I thought that was pretty crazy. I was like, oh, that's a cool detail. And when Ed and Alphonse do the ritual to summon their mother's spirit back into her body, this door appears in front of him.
Oh yeah.
And it's the Tree of Life. And it says Sephiroth.
Mhm.
And it's, it's like Kabbalah. And then they cross through the door and they're speaking to this being that you presume is God. And they're like, who are you? It's like, I'm everything. I'm God. I'm you. You
Yeah,
know? And
yeah.
I just thought that was so like, oh my God.
And
and
also, the artistic depiction of that. They go through the door. It's like just like a white room, and the beam
Yeah.
is just like a
translucent.
mouth,
Yeah.
Yeah.
translucent.
It's like an outline.
And something about that made me feel almost there's like familiar. Like
Mm.
they nailed this. Like I'm not saying that's what God looks like, but the representation, like the artistic choice, something about that is right. Like it was really compelling.
Yeah.
To me. I mean, you could have gone like some big crazy like Final Fantasy does with all you
Yeah.
kill God, right? And it's got 20 wings and
Yeah.
it's it's like a Ezekiel wheel or something. But they went the opposite route. They went this pure minimalistic. And it gives me this feeling that the only other time I can think of in media I felt it stronger. Have you ever seen a movie called Annihilation?
Oh
Yeah.
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 You know, at
I
the
haven't seen it,
end
but I'm
when
familiar.
she meets the being, but it's just like a geometric morphing blob.
Of her.
Yes. Well, before it turns into her,
Right.
before it takes the blood,
Right.
it's
Right.
just like floating, and it's the sound design is just like weird.
It's
like-
amazing, dude. It's hypnotic.
it's hypnotic, exactly. It gave me that same feeling. Like all the scenes in Full Metal when he's talking to God or whoever is, I think the name in between the two doors in that void space, I would feel like I was hypnotized. Like there's just something about that concept and the depiction of it. I think they nailed. Yeah, I've only seen Brotherhood, the like.
Well, that's
remake
That's the
anime.
one.
That's the real one.
That's
yeah.
the one.
Okay,
Based
okay.
directly off the manga. Yeah.
Yeah. The first one basically like came out before the manga was finished, and then the anime ended up like catching up with the manga before it finished, and they kind of just
They
like
just made up the ending.
made up an
Yeah.
ending.
I didn't know that.
So Brotherhood is the one that
Okay.
you watch. That's the
Okay.
right one.
Yeah, it's like the modern remaster where they actually like do a one-shot follow through of the original manga. So it's the accurate story.
The source material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other really, really good esoteric anime that are also new, so they're hot right now. Solo Leveling and Jujutsu Kaisen. If you haven't seen those yet,
Don to Don.
that too.
Don
Yeah,
Don
yeah,
as
that
well,
didn't, that didn't cross my mind. That's extremely esoteric. But
Yeah. Before we leave the Kabbalah Tree of Life thing, I'm sure you played the newer Wolfenstein games.
I played New Order I played the first of the two. I think there's 3 new ones.
Yeah, I think there are 3, but
I've played the first 2.
okay, so I think it's the first new Wolfenstein of the newer ones. I think it probably came out in like, I don't know, 2016,
17, 20.
yeah,
Somewhere around there.
They have the whole like Da'at Yeshud. It's called like the Da'at Yeshud. It's that like esoteric underground like Hebrew magic thing. It's literally
Kabbalah.
all
It's literally Kabbalah.
straight
Those are
up.
Sephiroth.
He says it.
nodes.
He
Yeah.
straight up says like this is this Kabbalistic magic. He straight up says it. Like it's not, there's no sugarcoating or anything.
It's like the movie Heretic where he comes
Yes,
out,
and
like,
just
come
straight
right
up
out and
says
say
it.
it, and you're like, whoa.
Man, just talk about a game that like really impacted me. Wolfenstein. I had never even heard of the original Wolfenstein
Yeah,
when I played the newer ones. And my friend Jacob, our friend Jacob, shout out Jacob.
he's the man.
He was like, dude, you got to play this. This shit is insane. And I'm playing it. And I'm like, oh, sick. I get to kill Nazis. That's awesome. and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's like Kabbalistic magic and like mechs and like all this crazy, like this esoteric occult organization. Like it is such an awesome, unique game. I love that game.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. This is way different, but there's a game that I've been seeing clips of lately that I really want to play, and I think it's called like Exorcism Simulator
What?
or something.
What?
It's like it's kind of like Phasmophobia. It's like a four-player.
okay.
It's like a 4-player horror co-op game.
Exorcism.
Yeah, I
Simulator.
don't know if that's really what it's called. I think it's
No,
called, like,
I mean there is a game called Exorcism. I'm watching it right now. It looks.
it might be called Depossess. If I'm being honest.
Oh,
But
Depossessed. Let me check
it's
that out.
I'm probably tripping on the title, but if I saw a clip, I would know because it's
The same one came up, so I think. It's called Unpossessed. Exorcism
Unpossessed.
Simulator.
Yeah. Unpossessed
yeah.
Exorcism Simulator. Dude, it looks crazy. It's just like Phasmophobia, but instead of like hunting a ghost, you're trying to like use like crosses to get the devil out of people.
Oh, that's
Oh
crazy.
my
It's like
god, it's
multiplayer.
creepy.
Yeah, it is
That's
creepy. It looks scary.
Crazy.
It looks awesome.
Damn.
Have you guys played Silent Hill 2, the new or the original by
I've
chance?
never played Silent Hill, man.
Same.
Never played 'em.
I hate to disappoint you, but I've never played them.
I
Have
think that if
seen
you
the movie.
ever wanted to do another pop culture episode, if you played that game, you would have like 5 episodes of content to talk about.
Listen,
It's-
I'm on my grind right now of picking up on all of the games that I missed out on. So I think that's on my list for sure, because I also have a coworker who same thing, like he's utterly and completely obsessed with the Silent Hill games, and he talks about them all the time and how awesome they are.
I like
And
the
most
movie
most
growing
people
up.
would say 2 is the best. It's also the most. If you're gonna play one, play 2 first.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on that grind right now. I was never really into, I know it obviously Silent Hill is not it's not like a JRPG at all, but I never got into JRPGs at all until playing Chrono Trigger, and now I'm going down that rabbit hole. But also like the whole like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, like
survival horror stuff.
that lane. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's gonna happen at some point.
The GOAT, the most esoteric game and universe I can think of is the Remedy shared universe. I don't know if you've played any of the Alan Wake or Control game.
Oh.
I didn't
Oh
know
my
they were
God.
in a shared universe.
Yeah, they are.
I didn't know
Alan
that.
Wake
Yeah.
2 might be the
Cool.
best survival horror, like psychological survival horror game ever. It just barely recouped its money. Was the whole
Wow.
reason behind that. But God, I would like kill to like talk Alan Wake 2 with you guys if you'd played it. I bet we could go. I don't want to spoil it. Like, it's so good. I don't want to say anything because if you ever play it, I don't want to ruin.
Yeah, the tragedy is that I love Alan Wake, the first one, and I've never played the second one. But just like a month or so ago, I bought the first one again on Steam and have been replaying it in preparation for Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
So very soon I will be playing.
Awesome.
Yeah, Alan Wake 2.
What's I always like to ask this question. What is the most emotional a game's ever made you, and why?
A game. Oh, I can tell you right now while you think about yours. When I was a kid and you would beat Ocarina of Time, and every time you would beat the game, I felt like I wanted to cry because I was like, it's over. You never wanted it to be over.
Oh,
You know, because as it was back then, we had Nintendo, we had SNES, we had Nintendo 64. It wasn't like online infinite gameplay loop competitive gaming. It's like you had your little game, you played it, it was over, and you're like, no. So whenever the credits would roll in Ocarina of Time, I always just felt like,
it's like the end of Lord of the Rings. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, we just went on this whole journey and now it's over.
Triumph, but also like sad that it's over.
I would also get sad for Link because good God, that poor fucking kid went through everything, traveled into the future, slayed the ultimate evil, traveled back, and nobody even knew he did any of that. And like he just has to live his like normal life dealing with the psychological repercussions of what he just did.
Yeah.
Like,
breaking news. I think Alex has a contribution.
What up? Okay.
Did
you hear that, Kade?
No, I couldn't hear it.
His mic isn't working, but he cried at the end of Red Dead 2, right?
Yeah, 2.
Red Dead 2,
yeah.
Red Dead 2. That's
another one,
bro.
Red Dead 1 as well.
Oh my!
There's games you beat and you're not sad. Like for example, Halo. Amazing games growing up.
Yeah.
Never felt sad. Like that was sick.
Yeah.
Let's play multiplayer.
Yes.
But for some reason, when you beat Ocarina of Time, I just always felt like it was so depressing. Like for me, actually, this will explain a lot about me. I have a hard time finishing open world games because when I get near the end, I don't want it to end.
Yeah.
So I stall and I stall and I stall and I do all these side quests, and then it's like I've invested 80 to 100 hours in this game, and then it's like, well, I got other games to play. And then I don't finish. Like for that reason, I haven't finished Tears of the Kingdom.
You talk about emotional.
I haven't finished Ghost of Tsushima. There's a lot of games that I never finished because I'm traumatized as a kid. Like you play the game, it goes by really quick, and then it's over.
You're robbing yourself.
Yeah, but for sure.
You are.
It's a complex because then there's never the experience of that first experience for me.
Yeah. There's something wrong with my brain where I can play a game 100 times and feel the same thing every time I play it. I've like beaten all the Kingdom Hearts games like 10 times.
Wrong. That's a gift from God, dude.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You're right. I do feel fortunate to have that. But a lot of games make me emotional, honestly. Like I find fiction is one of the things that makes me the most emotional out of anything. I don't know why. But one of the more recent examples would definitely be Tears of the Kingdom. I won't spoil anything.
I know exactly where I'm at in that game, and I swear once a week I'm like, I'm gonna pick it back up. I will finish.
I won't spoil anything, but I will say maybe the most shocking twist of my whole entire life, and I cried.
Wow.
Did you beat it or no?
I have not beat Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, you got
what
it.
happens.
It's so good, dude. It's a 10 out of 10.
It's unbelievable.
I done up to 80 hours in it, and
I think the most emotional I've been playing a game might be God of War 2018. It's the
That was
father
a tough
son
for
thing.
me. Yeah.
The father son thing really like hits me in the heart. Um my dad and I didn't have like the toughest. It wasn't crazy. It wasn't anything crazy, but we like pretty much always butt heads. Uh but we found our way through that, and like now we're in a great place. Um and so that subject matter is like very tender to me. And the performances of those actors is maybe the best I've seen in any video game.
For sure.
It's
They definitely raised the level, everything, production. I mean, there had been single shot games, but the whole idea of the whole game is one single continuous shot, and all the tricks they did to pull that off. Christopher Judge, everybody, like even the subtle things they did. Like, do you remember the very beginning of the game when you first kind of set out and you are going to initially like get the tree? I think you're the wife. You cut down the tree. It's like right at the very beginning.
Oh yeah. It's
Yeah.
how the game starts.
And there's like Atreus and Kratos are arguing, and they're looking over like kind of a cliffside.
Yeah.
And there's awkward, and Kratos like puts his hand like he wants to touch Atreus,
Oh, and then he pulls it away.
but he pulls it back.
Oh.
Just like the game is just full of like subtle subtext like that.
Yeah.
That just by the end, when you find out, spoiler alert, that like the mom has been guiding them, and that's
the whole time.
I loved how they tied in lore to like what's considered a gameplay mechanic. The idea of yellow markings to let you know what you can interact with and what you can climb on.
It's
been around, but in them, they're like, we're gonna do that, but we're gonna actually work it into the lore and make it like fit into the world. And it's her knowing ahead of time, guiding you, because it's just, god damn, that game's awesome.
I think that was like the first game anyone's ever played where like the acting and the dialogue and all that felt like movie quality.
It truly,
you know, it really it is movie quality.
It had been attempted before,
but
didn't
like land 100%. Yeah,
they fully and completely.
It's like a movie.
It really is. And then Ragnarok doubles down on that. Like, you know, like if God of War 2018 is the Iron Man movie, God of War Ragnarok is in game. Like it's like they fully go 3 times as big on that. But yeah, I think that's in like, I think God of War 2018 is in like the top 3 most like dazzling, spectacular games I've ever played, just personally.
For sure.
It hit me on every single level. It checked every box. It shook me to my core. It made me extremely emotional and like shocked me.
The only problem is there wasn't enough of it. There just wasn't enough.
I know. Yeah. They came out with Ragnarok, and maybe they'll do another one. I don't know. The story is
there's like heavy conversation about that right
now. They're it's either going to be Egypt.
It seems like Egypt.
Egypt is where we're going next. But I did just see something like last night that apparently a very credible leak source who has been right about many things God of War related in the past is saying it's actually going to be another prequel set in Greece about Kratos and his father.
See, what I saw was there was a leak that a major project for Sony has just been announced that they're casting Middle Eastern actors. So they're speculating, well, is it God of War? Is it Egypt?
Yeah.
So who knows? But
God of War,
I'll play it regardless.
Oh yeah. The 2018 was supposed to be Egypt like many years ago.
Right,
it was going to be.
I'm glad it wasn't.
I am too. The Norse thing.
Yeah, it was very cool.
I was a little bummed out when the Norse thing was first announced. Like I think at the time there had been, I think Assassin's Creed Vikings had come out or was announced.
It was around the same time.
It was around the same time, yeah.
There seemed to be other Viking games, and I just felt like, the Vikings TV show. I'm like, I got lots of cool Viking shit in my life.
Yeah.
I'd rather.
There's not enough though.
Have you seen The Northman, by the way?
Oh,
yes.
So good.
Oh my god, people
talked
so much shit on that movie. I went with pretty low expectations. It's one of the coolest movies I've ever seen.
It's fucking awesome.
It's amazing,
dude. It's so good.
Hell yeah. I was gonna ask if Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk came and said, Okay, Bledsoe said so. I love you guys. I believe your dad's story. I want to support you. So here's $20 billion. You can make any video game you want and hire whoever you want. What would you guys make? Like, let's say they came to you as a duo, as a podcast.
Easy.
What?
Elder Scrolls 6.
Oh my.
Where's it at? Where's it at? I would
See,
take all
I'd be
20
more
billion,
team-
give them to Todd Howard, and say, "Hurry the fuck up."
But I'm team GTA 6.
Okay,
what I
that's
mean?
that's cool. But
Yeah.
like Skyrim, what's it? Are we at 14 years now that we've been waiting?
2011, yeah, 14 years.
14 years. Here you go, Todd. Here's $20 billion. Give me the fucking game. Where is it? Give me it.
You know what? I know what game I would make. I would set out to make the most badass hand-to-hand martial arts kung fu game ever made. Like Sifu, best kung fu game I've ever played. Like that, but bigger. Like multiplayer. Like
Mm.
it would be like traditional respect to actual kung fu styles. Like you can do this style or this style or this style, and it would be something along those lines. Something like fighting, melee combat, like chivalry. Chivalry has a really good like sword, melee mechanic. It'd be something along those lines. When I was a kid, I always fantasized about a Star Wars game, just like Chivalry, where you have lightsabers, but it's like, something melee oriented with a multiplayer vibe. Maybe it's like Chivalry-esque where it's 64, 32 versus 32, but it's like, people melee fighting, like the fucking
It's all
Huns
Wing
are assaulting
Chun.
the Shaolin Temple or
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that. It would be martial arts melee focused.
That'd be sick.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, that's usually my favorite games
What is your favorite game, Ryan?
of all time.
Yeah, if you had to pick one, dude.
It depends on the era. I can't say one because there's a lot. I would say, like, I have a list. Ocarina of Time is probably like my all-time nostalgia classic. I would like play that with my dad and my brothers. We were all obsessed with Zelda growing up. And so definitely Ocarina of Time. But right now, dude, right now, like I'm really into Helldivers. Really into Helldivers 2. I think that game transcends just being a multiplayer game. Like it has an incredible lore that is like so freaking amazing. It's just an incredible phenomenon. I don't know. I really like competitive multiplayer games. I'm playing the crap out of Marvel Rivals.
I've heard nothing but good things from everyone who plays Rivals.
It's amazing.
It's shockingly good. Like
Yeah.
I thought the hero shooter thing had run its course, and especially with Concord.
I think Blizzard has run its course.
The dazzling failure that was Concord. I was like, okay, we're done with this, right? Like it's and then Marvel Rivals came out, and it's like, oh shit, no, this is fun as hell. Still, they just were doing it wrong.
Yes, they were doing it wrong.
Yeah,
they were doing it wrong.
I'd have to say Kingdom Hearts 2 is probably my favorite game of all time.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a more recent one, it would maybe be God of War 2018. But...
No, dude, it'd be Elden Ring.
Oh, hell yeah. What are you talking about? I'm tripping. Elden Ring is crazy. I can't wait for Night Rain. Good God.
People were bitching about Night Rain, but I'm like, more Elden Ring. Like basically you're getting a co-op boss rush mode.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like
an actual co-op game. Yeah, and it's a roguelike.
Yes, and they did cool little tweaks, like the mobility is way better. Like you run faster, you walk faster, everything's faster.
You
climb up
grapple hooks.
There's no fall damage.
Yeah,
like
it's awesome.
They did a lot of tweaks to just be like, go. Just have fun. Like don't worry about all the little
twist to the formula. Yeah.
Yes, it's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
I have to give special shout out. This is one of my top 5 permanent, like one of the best games I've ever played is Sifu.
Yeah, Sifu's sweet.
Sifu. I've beaten it over 100 times. I've beaten it master. I've done a literal no death run, but that was a normal mode. I haven't done a no death run on master someday, but I'll probably beat my head in if I attempt that.
Do you have a PS5, Xbox? What do you got?
I got them all, brother.
Okay.
You got to have them all these days. Pretty much.
Did you ever play Ninja Gaiden back in the day? The 360 through Xbox ones?
Not all the way. I played the demo. Actually, just a couple days ago, I was playing Ninja Gaiden 2.
Yes.
Because it's on Game Pass, and I was like, you know what? This is a little dated. Like
it's a little dated in terms of like the camera can be frustrating.
Yes,
they hadn't figured out the camera shit.
It's really clunky. I couldn't keep going.
But if you can get past that, there's a reason why it's hailed as the greatest action martial arts game for a lot of people. That's
Yeah.
like the pinnacle. Sifu's like a different thing. Sifu is its own, like almost like its own genre. It's not a
Sifu is
hack
for
and
kung
slash.
fu enthusiasts, bro. Like
Yeah.
it's like there's like real shit in there. Like as someone who studied kung fu for 4 years, like every week, going 3-4 times a week in like under an actual Sifu and like a part of a martial arts school, like Sifu is for real. Like it's amazing. It's unbelievable.
It's like Yip Man the game.
Yeah.
Just
it is.
Yeah.
just like straight boxing everybody. It's a really cool game.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I feel like I hijacked the whole thing of video games, and there's nothing for your listeners, but I could talk to you guys about video games forever. So
What do you mean there's nothing for our listeners?
And
This
I
is
know you
awesome.
said,
Yeah.
and I know you said an hour, and we're at like an hour. So
Oh, dude, I told you we're cool, man.
Okay,
We're cool.
okay.
We're chill.
I'm just making sure.
No, this has been awesome. I feel like people be tripping if there's at least got to be somebody out there in our show who likes video games, man. Come on, like
You guys have video game channel on your Discord, and I
Yeah.
pop in there and talk every once in a while.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up, you both brought up Link, and I had this thought as you were talking about Ocarina of Time and Tears of the Kingdom and why you felt sad, because in the lore, the quote lore, the timeline of Zelda, which has like multiple timelines,
Yeah.
kind of retconned it. But the overarching theme is Link is almost like a title. He's like reincarnated, or the
Yes.
title
Yeah.
is
Like a
passed
Christ.
down.
Yes.
Like a Christ, exactly. He's essentially a Messiah figure.
Yeah.
In another, now he's not like born of a Virgin Mary and all that
right.
stuff.
Of course, it's symbolic.
But it's like a twist on the Messiah, like the idea of the Messiah complex, not complex, I guess just the archetype. And maybe like it's almost a sad idea of like you're gonna save the world and then you're gonna die, but it's gonna go back to, you have to do it all over again.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And maybe
Oh,
that's why it feels sad, because I don't know. I was thinking about, he's right. Like the Zelda games,
They
don't
hit deep, dude.
they're hit different. Like you're right. I just played Halo 1 with some friends. You beat a Halo campaign. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. You're not sad. You're not like crying.
No.
And then
No. You're like, let's do it
Ocarina-
again on Legendary.
yeah, Ocarinas, it's not like you're weeping, but it's like somber.
You're melancholy.
Yeah, melancholy.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's because they're playing with some of these themes like reincarnation, timelines, Messiah, all that stuff.
It's the music.
The music too.
That
Yeah,
pulls your
I mean-
soul, dude. Like Zelda music, there's nothing like it.
Nothing.
And it's particularly all the little jingles they made for Ocarina of Time,
oh yeah.
the Song of Storms. Like, come on.
Oh
Yeah.
Like you can never not hear that melody.
It's
once
a Rhea
you
song all day, dude.
hear it. Yeah,
It does
that was
nothing
pretty
for
good
it.
too.
Yeah, pretty good. Come on, bro.
It's
Yeah.
all about the opening screen. That song,
Yes.
that's the song.
Yeah.
Oh my
Vibe.
god.
That's a
the
vibe.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is true. The somber, that whole thing of like Link is just gonna come back and do it again over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Like we're writing a song about that actually.
Yeah. Do you want to
I was
Yeah.
just
let's
gonna
just say
ask.
it, man. Our next
We're-
song is
Let's
the
do
same
it. Let's
title,
do it.
Yeah.
Thinking. Yeah, we're working on a single called Ultra Hand.
Yeah, which is the mechanic from Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom?
Yeah.
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 And it's literally like I've pretty much finished the lyrics at this point. It's literally about the like Link being trapped in an endless cycle of just having to fight Ganon over and over and over and over and over and over. And it's like, is he, it's this thing of like, is he really winning? And Ganon is almost being like, well, kill me now. Like I'm gonna be right back to get you again. Like,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And it is, you get that feeling playing the Zelda game. I mean, at least I do. I also find it fascinating. He is like a vessel for this Christ consciousness,
Yeah.
right? And he keeps coming back, and it's whatever. But I find it fascinating. He never talks, and you can name him whatever you want to name him, implying that like it's you.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
you. That's
it's-
true.
But
Kinda
also,
like-
bro, like
But
he-
like we are Christ.
yeah, but he also
Yeah.
like pulls the sword from the stone, which always gives me
Yes.
like Arthur vibe, like being worthy and like pulling the master sword from the stone, the magical sword that can seal the darkness. It's like
Bro,
It's
in
just-
Breath of the Wild, you literally have to purify your heart in order to pull the Master Sword out of
and you gotta have 13 hearts.
13
Yeah,
hearts.
you gotta have exactly 13
Oh,
hearts.
I forgot about that. You have to have 13
Dude.
hearts.
Yeah, both games actually.
Yes, yeah, but well, in Tears of the Kingdom, it's stamina.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Or
because
no,
you're riding
yeah,
the dragon. Yeah,
exactly.
you're right. You're
Yeah,
right.
you got to pull
But
it
you
out
have
of
to
the
have like 5 stamina wheels, I think, or
Yeah.
something like that. Because
Yeah.
you pull it out of a fucking dragon
forehead.
out of the sky. Yeah, it's
So
sick.
badass.
It's
dude.
awesome.
The Japanese have always had, like, I was thinking about what you were saying. I think there's a lot of it's like, okay, we're looking for inspiration. This stuff is cool. It's just cool. We just want to make something cool, right? But I also think over time, this concept, especially with all the JRPGs, because I know Nick's saying he's getting into them, there's this joke within the JRPG community that almost all of them, you kill God. Like that's
Yeah, it's true.
ultimately.
Yeah, watch Solo Leveling.
And I've always wondered, and a lot of times they'll take like they'll twist like Christian, they'll have crosses and stuff like in Xenogears or Dragon Quest games. They almost never explicitly mention Christ, but they're like taking iconography.
Yeah,
and-
even in
and
Dragon
stuff.
Ball Z, dude.
Yeah,
Everything.
and it's.
One
I
Piece.
wonder what that is. Like, is it because? But they come from, generally speaking, like a Buddhist background and reincarnation, and they mix the two together. And sometimes I wonder how much of it is sort of like the way I create sometimes. Like, I just want to put together things that are cool, and then I come up with a narrative once the pieces are there. Or are they master? Who's master planning and like really? I want to put this stuff into my art as a conscious message to people playing.
I think that they have a fascination with like Christian iconography, and that's why it's in so much anime too. Like, it's really in a lot of anime and also like Japanese games. And I think you're right. It's like, oh wow, this is cool. It's not that they believe it necessarily, but like, yeah, this looks sick. The cross, it does look kind of cool.
It does look
Cool.
cool.
With a cross tattoo, you're like, damn,
Dude,
that's
Baroque Catholic,
it's
like,
cool.
is heavy metal.
Crosses
heavy
are
metal
really
is
heavy
shit.
metal. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's so cool that people turn them upside down and they're like, yo, that's sick.
That's
Like,
even cooler.
It's still
Yeah.
a cross,
Right,
like it's cool.
The first time I ever saw the explosions in Evangelion and how like an explosion
And it's
happens and it's a
crosses, yeah.
cross, I was like, that's the coolest shit I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
Crosses are really edgy. Like,
They
if
are.
you think about it, like
Yes.
it's edgy.
They're cool as fuck,
Yeah.
dude. And yeah, I think a lot of it is like I'm just grabbing a bunch of stuff that I think is cool, put it together, and then the first chance you get to step back and look at it as a whole, you're like, oh shit, there's a theme here.
Yes.
Like I'm pulling from, and then you can inject the
story.
intention.
Yeah,
and
the intention. Yes.
Exactly, for sure. I don't know. I mean, who knows? Some of them, creators could be masterminding it from the very beginning.
Example: Fullmetal Alchemist.
Oh, that's
masterminded.
Dead
That
on.
has to be
intentional.
masterminded.
Yeah, it has to be. One Piece.
Ooh.
One Piece.
I've never tried because it's just too much of a commitment.
There is no try.
Yeah, dude, there is let me just put it to you like this. It will bless your whole entire life.
It'll change your life. Yeah, I keep telling
Everyone
Nick,
says that.
because it's true.
It's
bro.
true. It can't be overstated.
I tell Nick, I'm like, or like in group conversations with our friends who haven't seen it, I'm like, having One Piece in your life is something every day that can help you experience more joy. When you have a show, like when you have a show that is 1,200 now and going plus episodes, that is like consistently amazing, consistently better and better and better and better, and the story is so big and it's so deep and it's archetypal. Don't want to spoil anything. And it's very spiritual and like triumphant. And you have like X number of years of your life that you can show up and hit play. And it's this show that gives you that feeling that you're seeking when consuming media. It's like you literally have life before consuming One Piece and then during consuming One Piece, because it's still going. You know, and it's like literally having it in your life gives you more joy, in my opinion. It's amazing.
I've heard some pretty strong recommendations for One Piece, but that takes the case. That's like the cake. Excuse me. That's glowing, literally, almost like claiming One Piece is divine.
It is.
It honestly is.
It
honestly
is. Don't want to spoil it, but
it's. I don't know. There's this meme that it's like peak fiction.
It is.
It kind of is like, it's shocking.
It's hard to deny at this point.
It does this thing. I'm almost caught up. I only have a little bit left, and I'm sad about.
But then you have manga for years.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. The manga after that and whatever. But I'm almost caught up and I've only been watching like 2,
3. No, I've been 2. You're probably 3 years at this point.
2.5, 3
I've been
years.
watching for 2 years now, and you had been watching like maybe a year or even less. Yeah, maybe
I
you
think
are
it was
about
6
2.5
months.
Yeah, 2.5 years.
So
Yeah.
okay, and it continues to shock me from the first 50 episodes. You're like,
Oh, this is
this
awesome.
is the coolest shit ever. Like
Yeah.
pirates, this is awesome. And you think you know what the show is, and you think you know how good it could possibly get, and then every single arc for 1,200 episodes straight, they smack you in the face and say, like, you don't know shit. Like, we will be 10 times better than you think we will be. Like, this show will be so much better than you think it could ever be. I'm almost at 1,100 episodes, and I'm still like, my jaw is on the floor almost every episode.
Dude, you'll be on episode like 850, and a character will walk up that's like one of the most important people in the world or something, and it's like, you know, you heard their name like 500 episodes ago. You never even seen them, and then they show up, and it's like, oh shit, I gotta beat you. How am I gonna beat you? You know, it's like that. It's like everything is so fleshed out to a level that you literally have never experienced and never will experience, other than this one experience, which is One Piece. There's nothing like it. There never will be anything like it.
It's true. They're in a unique position because it's been airing for so long.
25 years.
It's like they never knew that they would get this much time to do the show. But once they started realizing that they would have enough time, which was around like Water 7-ish, they were like, we're going to do something that nobody else can do because we have the privilege of, like, they had the roadmap. They knew.
So it's almost like they have a second mastermind phase where it's
yes,
like they realize, okay, we have the runway to do something different. Yeah.
They saw the trajectory, and they were like, okay, we are having like a Dragon Ball level trajectory at this point.
Yeah.
And I think they made a conscious decision to be like, rather than ending at some point, we are going to tell this story in the most fleshed out way possible and take our time.
And here's something that we haven't even stated yet, and the best and most important part of the show, that it has like the highest degree of mystery.
Oh my God.
You ready for this? You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody even knows what the One Piece is.
No one in the human world.
In the world, like in real life.
I mean, well, the creator, Oda, and apparently like two or three
handful
other
of, like, his
people,
editors and
they actually know what it is.
So they do have an end in mind that they're working towards.
They've had it the
Yes.
whole time. He's had it the whole time. And he also said he has never once changed it. Never. He will never change it. And he also said it's not some bullshit like the One Piece was the friends we made along the way, or like
yeah.
Or
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
like, no.
It's real.
It's real, and it is going to like shock everyone that watches this show.
And then around episode 500, characters be like, the One Piece is real. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but like it's crazy. The level of mystery is so.
The people in the world, like the people in the lore, don't even know if it's a real thing or not,
or what it is,
or what. No one knows what it is.
Yeah, it's
no
insane.
one,
and that's one little example.
Yes,
Yeah, it's crazy, bro.
They have maintained this level of absolute mystery for such a long time, and like we still have no idea. There's been theories floating around for decades of what it is. We still don't know. We still don't.
And we're still years away from that.
Yes, yes. It's coming to a close. It's like,
have they given a timeline on, like, you know, how old is this Oda guy?
I mean, he's
probably 40s, 50s.
He's in his 40s.
Okay, he's got time. Yeah,
but he's been having a lot of health issues over the years. He works himself like a dog. But we are in like the final saga. They have declared
of the manga, which is a few years ahead of the anime.
It's about a year ahead.
Yeah, so
so it's coming to a close
within the decade.
I think I'm thinking within like 5 years max. It'll be over. Probably like 3. We'll see though. We'll see.
Yeah,
that's the end of our One Piece rant. We're One Piece evangelists.
Yes, we are. Prophets of One Piece. I love that shit, man. It's amazing.
It's the best.
Watching today.
You got a Power Rangers action figure back there.
Oh, you saw that, dude?
Yeah,
guess what?
dude.
This was mine when I was a toddler.
It's so cool.
Power Rangers was created the year I was born. I'm a Big Power Rangers guy.
I was a big Power Rangers fan too.
I've got some. Oh, they're in the
got
next
me.
It
room.
was huge in our house too. We
Yeah.
were way into Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles.
It's a Lord Zed, dude.
Turtles. Yep.
I loved the Mighty Morphin movie growing up. The
Oh.
1995 one. I would watch it on repeat.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
With Ivan Ooze.
Yep. And Lord Zed.
Yeah. It's awesome.
If you guys could, if Twiceborn could make a soundtrack for any game, what would you guys want to work on?
Twiceborn.
Yeah, so that gives you a little more narrow. Because I can think of a couple franchise. I'm like, I could hear some Twiceborn, some metal, some heavy.
In
shit.
what, Doom?
Yeah,
In
Yeah, that was my
Doom's the
first
first
thought.
one
was
that
Doom.
Doom's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doom was my first thought.
If I got to choose though, it would be God of War. It would absolutely be God of War. And
Yeah,
I
could see
think
that.
I think it's awesome what they do with their soundtrack and their score, like being just like orchestral and using like those like authentic cultural instruments and shit. I think it's really badass. But there are always moments in those games where I'm like, imagine if I was like brutally slaughtering this god right now to like the heaviest breakdown of all time.
Oh yeah.
Like, would that not be so sick?
I'm
yeah.
having a hard time with this one.
Dude, like think about in God of War 3 when you kill Poseidon. Like, and it's first person. It's like,
dude, he's slowly. Oh,
dude, like it would be sweet. It would be so
Yeah.
sick.
Or the
like,
Hercules death in that
oh,
one.
one of my favorites.
Oh, that one's
one of my
brutal, too.
all-time favorites. Smashes his face completely in. The Kronos one, where Kronos has you like this. He has
Yeah.
you between his fingers. That one is brutal. Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah.
God of War needs
It would
some,
fit.
it needs some Twiceborn up in it, for sure.
Plus, it's like esoteric. It's spiritual. Like the name, even Twiceborn itself, is a spiritual
Yes.
thing. Like, yeah, it would perfectly fit God of War. Actually,
I agree with you on the orchestral thing. I was actually I'm working on a God of War 2 emulation video, and
Awesome.
I like try to like make quick little remixes of songs for the YouTube videos, like just like rip the MIDI, throw it on a different instrument, and kind of make a little
Cool.
jingle. And I was listening for like, what God of War song has like a cool little melody, and I thought the same thing. It's not that I'm dissing on orchestral music, but it's like I've been hearing that style of soundtrack since I was a kid. Every movie with Hans Zimmer behind the soundtrack, like
Howard Shore.
And then you listen to something like an A24 film, like Hidden Gem. Is it Uncut Gems?
Uncut Gems,
yeah.
And it's like all synth, and I'm like, man, I would love like a more
I
like
love
a
synth.
dark synth cinematic soundtrack
Yes.
instead of orchestral. Or Doom is like metal, but Doom's kind of its own thing. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm slightly burnt out on the movie sound, like the genre of the movie soundtrack. Like, it's not that it's a bad genre, I've just listened to so much of it.
For
Yeah.
sure. I think
Yeah.
it's just so effective. Like it's
It's effective.
it's too effective.
That's something I think was so good about Stranger Things, is because there was like heavy synth
Yes.
layered into the soundtrack. It made you think of the 80s.
Absolutely.
You know, synth,
Yeah.
synth is one of my favorite instruments. Like, I love
it's
synth.
awesome.
I love it.
Awesome.
Love it.
Dark electronic music is my thing.
Yeah, I want to send your music. Can you send it to me?
Yeah, I'll
I
send
mean,
you
I
some.
want to listen, not send it. Can
Yeah.
you send it? I
I sent something in the Omis once, an early version of a track where I took the Red Star Regulus prophecy.
Oh,
and I
cool.
have-
Yes,
and
I
I like
remember that.
overlaid it into a breakdown. It's actually got pulled from that song. It's going to be like in the intro and outro of the album now. Our whole album, it's like me kind of injecting your guys' shit mixed with like my own, lore. and
Now I have to
fantasy.
hear it.
Hell yeah.
The only thing I worry about sometimes, and I'm just being totally honest, I'm a little superstitious. It's like your dad's always talking about being positive, and I'm like working in inspiration from your guys' story into like the darkest, heaviest electronic music, and I'm like, I don't think your dad would actually like it if he heard it. He'd probably think it's not.
Well, I mean,
good.
he probably wouldn't get it, man. He's 63 years old, and he's not, making music for fun. Like he probably, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and it's art. You just have it's like a persona. It's fiction. It's like you're
I
telling
don't
a
know.
story.
I don't know if he's heard. I'm sure he hasn't heard Twiceborn, but
No, of
I don't.
course he has.
He has.
Yeah, of
I don't-
course I show my parents.
I don't think he would like it if he heard that either. But I mean, it's art. It's an artistic
Yeah,
representation.
it's an expression of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I got a couple things wrong though. My sweatshirt is the upside down triangle.
Uh-huh.
For some reason, I got mixed up when I heard the triangle of the beings, and then later you were talking about Rosicrucianism in a different episode, and I think there was this concept of the true nature of the Godhead is actually the upside down triangle, Father, Mother, Children of Creation. And I'm like, that's such a cool concept that like we're actually part of the Godhead, and that there is a heavenly Mother. And in Mormonism, we actually have pretty strong old school Mormonism, not new school. Old school Mormonism, there's a very explicit heavenly Mother.
Yeah.
with a lot of Christianity, and I know a lot of Christians wouldn't think Mormons are Christian. I think that's fair. You can argue, you can say that, but I would consider them a Christian derivative
For sure.
Yeah.
And so most Christian churches don't, from my understanding, I've been to like different ones. I know you grew up, you guys both, or Ryan, in like a hardcore speaking in tongues type style thing,
Yeah,
right?
I did.
Is there, they don't talk about Heavenly Mother in
No.
No. That would be considered like evil.
Yeah. It's evil.
They would think
It's
that
demonic.
was evil. If you
heresy.
if you suggest that anyone other than like Father, Son, Holy Ghost, have any sort of divinity whatsoever, that's like evil. Like,
but I
strictly
guess the actual, I guess really it's the beings had a right side triangle, and it's Father, Son, Holy Ghost, but the Holy Ghost is the Mother. Is that the correct?
Yeah, in a manner of speaking, they
Yeah.
the beings, when they showed up with the triangle on their chest, didn't say that. You know, they said it's creation, right? It's the Trinity. But later, the lady in 2012, when she appeared, she was like, "I am the secret missing part of the Trinity. I'm the Mother, the Holy Spirit, the divine feminine." And we're like, "What now? Like, what does this mean?" And it took us, all this time to like learn and understand what this meant. But yeah. And
Well, I got it wrong.
she had a triangle on her chest too.
But it's right side up, correct?
Yeah.
So that makes me like, fuck, I have the upside down triangle, which is the inversion.
No.
No, because in
It's-
symbology, the up facing triangle is masculine, and
Yeah.
the down facing triangle is feminine.
Oh, that makes sense. That'll work then. That'll
No,
work.
it's
what I'm
fine.
looking
it's
at.
the sword and the cups,
yeah,
or the
it's-
sword and the cup.
Yeah, or it's like reproductive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the womb. The,
Yeah.
womb.
I get it.
You're
a
laughing,
womb,
but like
yeah.
I'm being serious.
The phallus.
Yeah, the womb and
phallus and the
the
womb.
staff.
The st-
And yeah, no, the for real. Like that's
yeah.
it can be represented that way.
Yeah.
And even like the ovaries at the other parts of the triangle, or the peanuts at
Not
on
the, not the
on the pointed up
peanuts.
triangle, the other 2 points are the peanuts. And then on an inverted triangle, the top 2 points
Or
are
the ovaries.
the ovaries.
yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
she
yeah.
nuts.
The she nuts. You did not just say she nuts. Oh
It's
my
what-
God.
and
Dude,
like-
it would be really cool. I would be fun, like YouTube video, if I knew more, to like do a 45-minute video on the symbolism of like the Triforce, because the Triforce is 3
Ooh.
triangles,
Yeah.
and some of them are up. I bet you could just like weave a really cool. I don't know, just like a spitballing on all this stuff, because the triangle itself is everywhere. It's in it's UFOs. It's in religions.
The strongest shape in nature.
The rule of 3 is
Mhm.
it's just everywhere.
It's literally the strongest geometric shape in nature.
Yeah.
If you ask like first responders, like firefighters or like rescue squads on police forces, when they go through training and like there's a building on fire or a collapsing structure or whatever, you cut triangles. If you're trying to breach into a building to like rescue people, you cut triangles because it will still be able to support the building. It won't collapse as easy.
Oh.
Whoa.
It's literally geometrically the strongest shape.
Whoa.
Think about that.
I had no idea. I'm kind of still thinking about she nuts, but I mean, but I mean, that's crazy. I had no idea. I knew obviously the principle that it's the strongest shape, but like as far as them cutting triangles to get it, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You could totally do like a whole comprehensive breakdown of the Triforce.
Yeah.
Because it's also an ancient symbol. It's an ancient Eastern.
And I'm
symbol.
sure it's similar to a bunch of other ancient symbols that you could connect once you start researching. I bet you could find so many connections.
Mystery traditions have a really cool explaining of the triangle, like and what it represents. Like, but before time and material reality existed, there was this original consciousness. That's like a point, right? If you think about it, like you're looking at a grid and you're like, how can I depict reality and consciousness on a graph on a two-dimensional plane. You have a point, and then that point gave the first expression or contemplation of itself, and now you have a line and you have 2 points. And that's when there began to be duality, this perfect, all transcendent consciousness versus when it contemplated itself, but it is a creator being. It's the source of creation. So when it thinks, it creates, right? So it contemplates itself and therefore creates a lower reflection of itself. Or, behind me here, the lady, the second layer of the divine. And then from those two forces emanating beneath them are us. That third point, it's like creation, right? Material reality. So like if you read old Rosicrucian manuscripts, they show you like it's a point and then it expresses itself. And now there's duality. And then it expresses itself again. And then it's like us, it's creation. And that's simplifying it. But
I think you said in the first episode, I remember obviously correct me, that the divine masculine was the logos and the divine feminine was like the will and the emotion, and those together create action, which is creation. Like I remember being like thinking that was so cool. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna design a fucking brand around this. This is sick.
That's cool,
but I think that you kind of said a similar thing where it's like you had the God contemplates itself. It gets
know thyself, right? You ever heard of
Yes.
that? Know thyself.
And then because of that, then you get the material reality, which is us. I mean, yeah. I
And
can't
now
really
we're
think of a
here.
better explanation.
Now we're here and we are fractal pieces of God, right? So like our whole purpose in life, the whole spiritual game is like mirroring, the journey of God. And it's like know thyself, like the inner work, but like looking deep into oneself, contemplating the inner mysteries of your mind, transmuting your traumas and your negativity even, and it's like, it's really crazy. We're like, it's as above, so below. Like us here on the material earthly plane are shadowy or mirror reflections of the higher plane of reality, the higher consciousness or intelligence. Know thyself. I think that's Aristotle, but very profound. In order to be enlightened, you must know thyself. You must look within, basically.
I was going to ask you also about your opinion on some Mormon stuff, because I want to know if it connects to any other mystery things that maybe I'm not aware of, because I think some of the Mormon like rituals, I know that they were inspired or derivatives or lifted from things that came. Some of it I know about, some of it I don't. And I'm just curious. Like one of the biggest ones is I've always thought it was super heavy metal. And if you grow up Mormon, you just think it's kind of normal because it's just like taught to you normal, and it's just, you don't realize it. But we have this thing we do for the youth. You can start doing it once you're 12 and you can get baptized for the dead, which just that alone.
That sounds awesome.
That's a metal song. Baptism for the dead.
Like, people convert just because of that.
Yes.
Convert from it
to it.
And before. People get weirded out by it, and people also think it's really cool. It goes, I think it's actually kind of cool. But the concept is you can't get baptized if you don't have a body. So you get baptized in proxy for a dead person, which is like an occult voodoo ritual.
Whoa.
In like a Christian, but they wrap it up in like Christian stuff. And it doesn't, the building you go to, the temple, doesn't look like a cult, like voodoo and dark. It's all nice, and like they spend tons of money on these buildings. And if you look up the inside of these temples, they're absolutely gorgeous. They hire like the best people. They just go balls to the wall, and then they build a baptismal font that sits on the back of 12 oxen. Like shit, you not. This is epic as fuck. Like if you look at these pictures, they look like they're crazy. Now they say within Mormonism that the 12 oxen or the ox or the cows, whatever they're called, symbolize the 12 tribes of Israel. Mm-hmm. But I know that 12 is a number that appears, like you guys had the Zoroaster episode. I thought was awesome, where, well, first off, good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Mm-hmm. It's like,
that's the name of the episode.
It's like the simple, that's my family motto. That's what I teach my kids. That's the simplest way, I think, to distill spirituality. Just those things, just what you think becomes words, and when your words become your actions, make them good, things work out. Like that's just the simplest way I could explain it to like a 5-year-old
Yeah.
on how to be. But anyway, so like the 12 tribe, I remember you saying, I think correctly, that he went into the river, had a vision, and there was the one main light, but there was 12 lights around it.
For Zoroaster? No,
For Zoroastrianism, when
no,
he
Zoroaster went into a cave up on a mountain.
is it a cave or a river? It's probably me who got it wrong.
Yeah, I think he went up into a cave on top of a mountain, and he had this experience with the Ahura Mazda.
Was Ahura Mazda? Ahura Mazda is the
light.
Yeah, the god entity.
Yeah, God. And then Angra Mainyu
is the bad one,
or Ahriman, or I think it's Angra Mainyu is like the evil reflection.
Yeah, the yin yang.
I feel like I'm in like the butterfly effect.
Uh-huh.
I feel like reality changed because I swear to God that he went underwater and had a vision, and I thought it was similar to baptism. And I'm like, that's so weird. It's so much older than any of these.
I'm pretty sure it was in a cave.
No, I would say I'm a lifelong pothead. I've been Snoop Dogg for 25 years, so do not trust my memory at all.
It's been pretty sharp. You've been calling out episodes that are like from years ago.
Yeah,
it's good sometimes and not good sometimes. But, dude, what sucks is I've actually brought that up and talked about it to other people, and I've just told them the wrong story about Zoroaster because I just thought it was so cool. But did he see 12 lights?
No, he saw one.
Dude.
He saw one, and it was Ahura Mazda, and it came and it told him basically. I mean, I haven't read the Gathas myself, but just the gist of what they said or what it said was like basically, hey, this is the truth. Like, I'm God, basically, Ahura Mazda, the creator, and there's also an evil shadow, an evil reflection, who is a liar and is evil and is trying to pervert the hearts of mankind and make them wicked and live in lies and deceit. And it's Angra Mainyu, or also known as Ahriman. And Ahura Mazda basically was like, good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Like, you have to purify your mind. You have to be righteous. You have to live in truth. You have to kind of align with the light and the truth. And, you'll make it to heaven or whatever. But
is there multiple versions? Because
over time it got twisted, just like everything.
Yeah, there's a version that, and maybe you brought this up as like a later version on the episode. There is a version where he was bathing in a river during the purification ritual. Then he had this vision of Ahura Mazda, what you just said.
Maybe that is what it is. I thought it was up on a mountain for some reason. I don't know.
There's so many of these myths that are like almost the same.
Yeah.
And then like minor details are different. But if you think about it, even like going underwater in a river and going into a cave is like the underworld.
Symbolic of
it's the same idea.
It's all symbolic of going into the depths below.
Yeah.
And then coming out with a new knowledge.
Subconscious, yeah.
Yeah. It's exactly.
It's the same symbolism.
Symbolizing the
underworld.
Subconscious.
Yes. Whatever.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen a YouTube video? I think it's called I See Goat 2.
No.
Oh my God. It's so good. It's kind of long to do live. It's 7 minutes and 30 seconds, but you got to watch that video. It came out like 11 years ago.
What is it?
I don't want to say anything more than
okay. Send us the link.
It's a 3D animation that a guy created. It's got Jesus and a cult and
oh wow,
towers,
I'm gonna watch it. Yeah,
and all this stuff, and it came out 11 years.
Oh,
ago.
I See Goat. I know what you're talking about. Not the video, but that's George Bush.
Yes,
you know this story.
George Bush is in it.
It's creepy, man. The day of 9/11, he's in an elementary school, like when the Twin Towers were hit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's reading this children's book called I See Goat.
Okay.
To them, and it talks about like plane hit. Like, it's really weird, dude. And
it's very weird. And that's all in this. So the video starts out with this, like it's animating this. There's like music, but all I'll say is it goes from that. It goes through. You're like, oh, this is a 9/11 conspiracy video, right? And then it's like, no, it goes through all the religions. It goes through all of time. And in the end, it ends with like Jesus and his third eye in his heart, like breaking. It just goes places you just
I'll definitely watch it.
Go there.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that as soon as
badass.
Yeah,
I would love to hear your breakdown of that because it's one of those things I've watched probably 20 times over the last like 10 years. I go back to it and then I go online and I read Reddit and people trying to break it down, and it's true art where it resonates with everybody, but nobody like gets the same thing out of it.
Yeah.
But everyone resonates with it.
That's
I'll
the
be
real
curious.
shit.
Yeah, we'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
And for the listeners, anyone, it's on YouTube. It's definitely weird, and it's kind of dark and unnerving in a way, but it's not like
Scary
grotesque or
or
scary or anything
yeah,
like that.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
I think these subjects for some people are unnerving.
It is like the first time I did DMT, it was
The
I've
first
done it
time.
a few times. Yeah, I've done it a bunch.
Wow.
It it was I remember thinking like, oh, the spiritual realm or the other realm is like more foreign and dark than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Because you grow up like Christian and religious, and it's like the other realm is like clouds,
Yeah,
Yeah.
golden
stars.
streets.
Everyone you love is
Yeah,
there.
everyone you love is there.
Yeah.
And then the reality is that's sort of true, but it's also like so different and unnatural. It's scary because it's so
Yeah, it's abstract.
incomprehensible. It's abstract, but it's darker than I anticipated. Like not in the way you perceived it, but in the feeling. Not like scary, I'm in danger dark. Like mysterious, unknown.
Yeah, ominous.
Ominous.
Yeah.
Yes, ominous. That's the right word. That's the right word.
Yeah, I understand that completely. I felt the same way. Like it was very ominous and very like, whoa, like almost like alien in a sense. Not like
Mhm.
Green Man Alien, but like foreign. Like, whoa, it's so different and abstract. It like baffles the brain.
I think that's how things are. Back to your family. Your experience has you both positive and negative.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like, yes, it's a blessing. And I know your dad's like it's all overall a blessing, but it's also been it seems like the darker you can go, the deeper you can go to hell, it also expands your ability to experience higher highs.
Yes.
Like the only way that you can experience ultimate love is you have to experience ultimate despair or
I think so too.
sadness or
Yeah.
something like that.
Like
And
the
that's
more-
the way I've go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry too, but like the more trauma or the more like you said, like the more negativity or suffering that you do experience, you can. It's like a pendulum. It can go equal measure the other way. And I can tell you that over 18 years of doing this and getting thousands and thousands of messages from people throughout the years, but mostly my dad, but now I get them too for the last 6 years I've been public. The main driving force behind people having experiences with the phenomenon is experiencing some form of trauma.
Yep. That's what I forget the guy's name. He's on Jesse Michaels. If anyone's interested, the American Alchemy podcast, I think is fantastic on the subject for the most part. And they've had a couple people say when they're recruiting for psionic assets, they look for people with trauma in their background. Because it's for some reason trauma, and even if it's like this goes to the dark side, right? That there's if you have the idea of the force, right? Ultimately, if you have this binary thing, good and evil, if there's ultimate good, like we're talking about, then there must also be ultimate evil.
Mhm.
And I think ultimate evil, the dark side of the force, is you can gain power or expand your abilities or your awareness or your intuition or your connection to the divine through terrible dark trauma. And some people have taken that path.
Mhm.
Like some people like legitimately, as much as I think Darth Vader is cool, the reality of like someone who goes down that path, I don't even want to talk about some of the things allegedly that happen or people who it's just like shit. And that's one thing I've noticed about your dad's story and other people's story, like Whitney Strieber and all these, and I know that not all of them agree, but they do all have traumatic lives, almost all of them. I can't think of one that doesn't. Your dad in particular, when I remember reading the UFO of God book, which I recommend, I killed it in a day. I just remember thinking like, dude, this guy's life has been nonstop, just crazy shit.
Yeah, trauma
since
after
a kid.
trauma.
And one thing that I wanted to ask about is I know he got healed from the stuff, but he talks a lot in the book about the arthritis from, I guess, the contact. Is that just like, okay, I got healed from Crohn's disease, but I got arthritis in exchange?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's been speculated by government and Vatican officials. I mean, how could we ever know for sure? It's not
Exactly.
like the beings are going to come down and give a diagnosis. We really don't know.
Yeah.
But what I do know is he does still have rheumatoid, but it goes in and out of remission, and it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. Every now and then, like if he works his hands too much, if he's doing some sort of construction type thing at the house or at my house or whatever, then he'll have like a flare up, and for a few days his hands will hurt. But for the most part, he is experiencing remission.
Yeah, there was a time where he could like barely walk.
Yeah, he couldn't even button up his pants or tie his shoes. Or
He talked about that in
Yeah.
the book, like gardening. I remember him talking
Yeah.
about gardening while his
Mhm.
hands were all messed up.
Yep.
And I remember just thinking, like, Jesus Christ, sorry, pun intended, I guess. Like, dude, to give this guy a break, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, I've wondered about that. Like, I think I told you I had an orb experience. I did tell you. I know I told you. And all I've had is that one experience. And I've sought experiences and I've asked for experiences or just like something my whole life. And sometimes I've wondered, it's either two things. I've had a really awesome life. For them, like if you zoom out compared to other people, not that I don't have shit, but realistically, I've had a very blessed life. I don't think I have a ton of trauma in that sense. And I'm like, so maybe I just have to experience more. Or two,
No.
I've thought like maybe I was like an actual Darth Vader character in the previous life. And like I got a long way to come up. And I'm just like half joking. I'm not being, I don't fully think that, but sometimes I wonder. And I've always thought like, why would the phenomena or God or the divine have it set up this way? And to me, it must mean that if you believe the phenomena or God or the divine is all powerful, it also seems to be there must be certain laws that the way the universe works,
Yes.
that you just have to do things a certain way, even if you're God.
Mm.
Right? Otherwise, I would be like, if I had a bunch of creations and children, I wouldn't want to make them go through the shit we go through. I don't want my kids, like.
Yeah, but you send them to school and make them do their homework and, teach them
Exactly.
discipline and teach them
Yeah,
respect.
exactly.
And, when they act up, they get in trouble. There's certain things that like you wish didn't happen to you, but then you're like, but I have to do it because I'm molding them to be a
Yes.
certain way. I'm molding them to be successful. Right. And it's kind of the same thing, I feel. And also like, yeah, I think that it is law. That it's like, dude, what would be the good in giving your child the answers of their homework? They're not learning,
Yeah,
Well,
well,
that's
and
because that's
they're
because
gonna
we're
fail
us.
the test.
We're us. We don't. But if I was an all-powerful being, why couldn't I give them the answers in a way where they would have it the same way as if they, like, I must not be able to do that. Like, it
Because
must not be
you are a
possible.
contemplation of this all-powerful being. You are a thought within the mind of this powerful being. You're like a shadow or a reflection of it. And just like when it originally contemplated itself, now you are here to contemplate yourself and therefore contemplate it,
Yeah.
the universe. Like it's a test, it's a lesson. Like you have to grow. You can't just be like, you join the military. They're like, all right, great. Here's your rifle. No, they got to like mold you and shape you and prepare you for war and condition you. And that's what life is. It's like a conditioning experience for you to, as your consciousness to grow, to be ready for, I guess, as I understand it, like eternity in the other world, so to speak. And when, maybe you didn't quite make it in this life. All right, well, you got to come do it again.
Exactly.
You
Which
stole
gives
and
me
you
a lot of
robbed
hope.
people in this one. Now you're going to be robbed in the next one, and then you learn, I don't want to do that in another lifetime, and it's like that over and over and whittling away all of these parts of your consciousness that are impure until eventually you got to figure it out. That's what the Rosicrucians teach and all these other mystical societies, that like that's the purpose of reincarnation, is over time you're becoming more and more pure between lives,
It resonates with me. It makes sense to me. It's one of the only ways that I can grapple with the fact that there is so much suffering in the world. It's like, well, how does that make sense? Well, if we're all one consciousness, we're all contemplations of the same being. You are the blessed person, and you are also a child born into slavery.
Mhm.
You're both.
You're also the creator.
You're also the creator. So it's fair in the sense that it's not like, hey, I have an awesome life and this person doesn't, or my life sucks and this person's life is awesome. We all have the same thing. And then if you tack on the reincarnations, well, if you zoom out, it may seem unfair right now, but if you zoom out over hundreds, thousands of lifetimes, it is going to make sense. And it's that the idea of collective consciousness and reincarnation is the only way I've been able to tell myself something that can kind of quell that existential, like, why are things the way they are? And then I can just stop worrying about that and just get back to good thoughts, good words, good deeds, because that's what you got to do. Right. And I think if you focus on those three things, you sort of naturally head the direction you're supposed to go.
Right.
Yeah, you don't
I totally agree.
Yeah. That's how I approach it. And I think I think podcasts like yours are important. I think people need a spiritual framework to approach reality. Like, for example, my wife just went through like a really bad mental like period, like 9 months to 10 months. And we lost her brother and my brother a year apart.
Oh no.
And we had left Mormonism, and she never had kind of faced some of this stuff without like a spiritual story to tell herself.
Right.
And so she was fine. And she was like, for years, she's never been depressed. And she just thought like, I don't know the answers and I'm okay with not knowing. I'm just going to try to be the best person. And that's where she was. And she thought she was okay with not knowing until she had to face some new shit. And then it was like, okay, I've actually got to explore deeper into the spirit. You can't, basically what I'm trying to say is you can't ignore that. And not only is it real, but you can't ignore it. And if you do ignore it, life is going to basically force you to face it at some point. There's no way around it. No one gets out alive. Nobody. Unless, I guess, unless she just really did get resurrected. There might be one guy who got out alive, but everybody else.
Might be a few of them.
We don't know. Yeah,
Tibetan
monks,
monks.
We don't know. Actually,
thousands of years ago, there could have been Tibetan monks who's just like, I'm ready to leave my body. Woo! You never know, man.
That's true. Yeah.
You don't know. I think anything's possible.
So I do want to ask some, like, I know I'm asking more stuff as a fan of the show. So I guess my listeners can just deal with it. Your dad was recently on the Sean Ryan episode.
Yeah.
Or the Sean Ryan podcast. And he said particularly one big thing that I have thought or deduced from consuming all your guys' content and his story about this idea. I should give some context for people who don't know. Part of your dad's experience, he was told this prophecy, I'm summarizing, something around the red star of Regulus aligning with the gaze of the Sphinx, and that's somewhere around Easter 2026, right?
Right.
Okay. And he's talked about this for a long time, and there's other cultures that have the age of Aquarius or Revelation, and this concept of like the switching of ages or the apocalypse has been around.
It's very ancient. Yeah,
it's very ancient, and I think we probably had multiples of these. But he came out in a way on the Sean Ryan episode that was like more confident and straightforward than I've ever heard him talk about. And particularly talking about Jesus, which it seems like he's been very careful about talking about. And I know with his background in the Christian church, him not being treated well when he talked about. So I'm really curious, as a fan of the show, was that intentional? On this episode, we are going to kind of openly say some things, predict some things, be more straightforward. Because in the past, he's always been like, I saw things, I was told things, but I don't want to be seen as a prophet. I don't want to be I don't want to scare people. I just want to spread positivity. And he kind of kept a certain distance, and he closed that distance, in my opinion, on that episode. And I just want to know, was that spur of the moment, or I don't know, just give me any insight to that.
Yeah, I mean, there were some things leading up to that I think had emboldened him to speak his mind a little more clearly. Some instances where we were experiencing heavy suppression or just straight up like portraying us in a very negative way. Not that I want to go into specifics, but I'll also say that conversation was misconstrued to a point. And I will say, like, he made it very clear in the clip that he said, but maybe it's the lady, maybe it's the heavenly host. I don't know. I just know that a piece of heaven is coming here to help us and to help us have a better life. And the way the conversation on the edited version that is titled The Episode We Never Censored, Dad said the return And Sean said, of Christ? And Dad said, well, yeah. Or I don't know. But the
And then the
real
way it's being
conversation
shared on
was,
social media is that he's predicted the second coming of Jesus.
yeah, well, that's stupid.
It is
Because
stupid.
it's not the reality, and it is what it is. That people hear a line out of a whole thing and they go nuts, and it is what it is. But
Yeah.
and I will tell you, sitting in the room while recording, the actual conversation was a little different. And actually, parts of that conversation was why it was never going to air in the first place. So it's interesting, that the actual aired product, which aired 3 days after my tweet, was just a little bit misconstrued.
It was a little bit misconstrued.
Yeah.
There was a new detail that I had never heard. I don't know if I missed it in the book or it wasn't in the book. There's so much information out there. But for someone who's been beating a dead horse, like rabid fan of your story and lots of people's story in this space, I had never heard about the medication and the being that he talked to.
Yeah.
The
The
first
medication part's in the book.
It is it in the book. Yeah, I must have
Yeah.
forgotten that because you chimed in. Because Sean asked, like, are there videos of this or recordings of this? And your dad was like, I think my wife has them somewhere. And then you chimed in and he's like, oh, Ryan, the son is talking to us. And you said something like, yeah, he used to just stare at the wall and we didn't know.
Well, no, he was talking. Like
He was talking to somebody that we couldn't
Yeah.
see. Yeah, yeah. It was just like, oh,
Yeah, it all really happened. It's like traumatic stuff.
yeah, there's just always these new details that come out over time. Anyway, I thought that episode was really, really good. I didn't know that things were taken out or misconstrued. I did think that
Well, it's titled The Episode We Never Censored, man.
I did think
about
that
it.
was tongue in
Think
cheek
about it.
response to your tweet, where he was kind of like saying this is fake news. We didn't. I thought it was like a little not degrading, but like condescending, maybe.
Yeah, that's the vibe it was
Yeah,
giving.
a little
for
kind of
sure.
like
It's all right.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Thank you.
It did.
Thank you. Awesome.
It did seem kind of like it was a direct response to your.
But do you know what I got out of that?
Hmm.
That we are making systematic change,
Mm-hmm.
actual systematic change, and that the truth is very hard to suppress anymore. You can change it. You can alter it. You can maybe cut a conversation to make it look quicker and more pointed towards one part. But, the truth is hard to suppress in this day and
It's
age.
only going to last for so long.
What he actually said was, I don't know. The return, maybe the lady will come. Maybe it's the beings. It's going to be a new knowledge that a piece of heaven is coming here. I don't know. I can only speculate.
I'm glad you clarified that, because as someone who's pretty familiar, I felt like it was slightly out of character. And I was like, I mean, it's not like they changed his words, but I'm like, man, the way that Sean asked, like, Jesus, and I'm like, I've never heard him say that. But yeah, he also made multiple points on other subjects where he said, I don't know, I just think this. Like,
Right.
He was very careful about that the whole time. And I think that's another thing that makes me more bullish on your dad's story, is just the way he talks about things. He's also gotten very good at telling the story over 20 years. I've heard the river incident so many times at this point, but even on that episode, and then on the recent episode on your podcast, like, he's gotten better at putting the most important points kind of condensed down to what you need.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas the first time I heard him on Richard Dolan, it was like 5 hours. And I loved it. I want all the content. But you can also hear him say that in like a good 30, 45 minutes. And it's pretty much the gist of it and everything you need to know.
Right.
Yeah. I thought the Sean Ryan episode was good. I did think that title was a direct kind of mini fuck you.
Thank you.
Don't
bother me, man.
I get it. He's a super big, he's up here and has this huge audience, and he's kind of like the big dog in the room. I'm like, I get it, I guess.
And now we're up there on the big audience. You know what I'm saying?
I know. It's like, it's still good. I'm still glad it aired. I'm super glad it aired. And I think I still would recommend people checking it out. Maybe. I don't know. Do you feel like that's a good one for people to check out?
Yeah. Why not?
I think it's good.
It's my dad sitting there, like, telling it,
know.
like. Yeah.
It's a crazy story. I'm kind of just spitballing now. I'm so glad to have you for this.
Well, you know
long of a
what?
time.
There is a 2-hour time difference here.
Okay, yeah,
I think because you're in Utah, right? So it's like
Yes,
it's
I'm
getting
at-
kind of late
I'm
for
at
us.
8.
So, but I want to ask you one final hard hitting question. Okay,
me.
I know you didn't expect to be asked a question. All right, really think
ready.
about this
I'm ready.
because your entire channel is on the line with this answer.
On the line.
Well, not in a bad way. I just mean like
fear
like
not.
it's important. This is everything you've been working towards is this answer right here.
Okay.
What's your all-time favorite video game?
My all-time favorite game?
Yes. You asked us,
I know.
Yeah, I need to
know.
know.
right?
I
It's
need-
on the line.
I
man.
need to
his,
know.
his channel's on the line.
It's on the line, dude. If you don't answer this right, it's over. It's over. You lose your channel. You lose everything.
Typically, I say a lesser-known JRPG called Suikoden 2.
Wow, I
Never-
don't know it. I
never
never
heard
heard
of
of it.
Yeah, I know. So normally, I shouldn't say typically. I don't always say that because it's just lesser known, and I don't think it's the greatest made game. It just for the right reasons and the
It
right
hits you.
timing hit me.
Yeah.
But when I want to just talk about,
One I would know.
I would say Cyberpunk 2077. I can't believe-
Okay. That's a
I
good
can't
one.
believe that's a real game. I can't believe that
yeah,
game.
it's crazy.
I mean, it got shipped in a terrible state. They kept working on it for 7,
And it was still amazing.
and it's still amazing.
I
And
played
then
it in that terrible state. Loved it.
I mean, I played it on PC when it launched. It wasn't that bad. The PS4 version was terrible, I guess.
Mhm.
But and it wasn't Witcher 3, but I replayed it recently when the DLC came out. I went through the whole game from scratch again. It has the most hours I've ever put into game. It's not the most emotional I've ever been. It's not the most fun or social thing, but it is my appreciation for the art of video games. I just fucking love video. I mean, that's all.
Yeah.
I make video game content all day. Like I love video games because I think that they are essentially a meta art. They're an aggregate art. They
Yeah.
take all the
Mm.
traditional art forms that we've
Put them
loved
together.
and they put them together. You know, music's been around forever. Art's been around together. Painting's been around.
Story.
Stories
Yeah.
have been around since the dawn of time.
Yep.
They're the oldest art form. They put it all together, and then they add this new element, which is more modern, which is the art form of creating a gameplay loop, like an interactive loop. So they just take all the different art forms together, and when you look at the scope of Cyberpunk
It's
2077,
crazy.
of what they were able to accomplish and put together, the density, the amount of lines, the amount of art direction, the amount of music, the amount of shit that no one will ever see, but
Yeah.
is in that game.
It's mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling.
You
And
can
I just
sit in one spot and listen to 2 NPCs talk for like 2 hours, and you'll never hear.
they don't repeat.
They
No.
don't repeat.
They
Never.
don't fucking repeat.
Never.
And
It's
that's just
so
one
weird.
little
It's
group.
crazy.
Yeah, all the NPCs are like that.
It's so weird. I was gonna say, like, if you are just in like the middle of like a city center in that game and you just stand still and look around, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's real.
This is a real place that the people move authentically. They interact with each other. There's like people selling shit to NPCs. Like shit is just happening around you, and you're like, this would be doing this if I wasn't here.
Yeah,
That's a huge thing in gaming. That's one of the reasons that I think Skyrim was such a big deal and it was so shocking and amazing to people because it felt like that.
it was kind of like that first game where it's like, oh, you see that over there? You can go to it.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
That was even in the
Yes.
like advertisements. you know?
Exactly.
That mountain over there, you can go to it.
Yeah. The E3
Awesome.
the E3 reveal of Skyrim.
Yeah.
He's like, you see that mountain? You can go to that mountain.
Right.
I'm glad you brought up the NPC point. That's one I brought up a few times. I remember sitting and listening to 2 NPCs argue politics in like the in-game lore. Like I kind of knew who one of the candidates were from some of the notes I read, but they were having this argument about politics, like fake politics in the world of Cyberpunk in Night City and like what was going on with the different countries. I just sat there and like listened to them waiting for it to loop. And they just kept
And it just
arguing.
doesn't.
And I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and wait forever, but okay, you got me. Like you went longer than I'm willing to wait to see. If it
That's amazing. Yeah, that game is
Yeah.
so good, dude.
It's impressive.
I need to finish it for sure. Another one of those games that I just never finish because it's like I don't want it to end, and then I just never end it.
I have one more recommendation, and I'll let you guys go.
Okay.
Have you played Last of Us 2 or Last of Us
No,
1?
I haven't played either.
Okay. You definitely have to play Last of Us 1 first. or you could watch the show, get the same kind of gist.
I saw the first episode. I thought it was really cool.
Okay. Last of Us 2 is it made me legitimately, maybe not full weep, but pretty close to like an actual, not just cry,
rough.
but like a weep, like a rough, ugly cry.
It is rough.
And it's around father, son, father, daughter
Mhm.
themes. And I know you said that with God of War, Nick, that was a big one for you. So,
Yeah.
But
Oh,
in
yeah.
order to have the full impact of that moment, and that's all I'm going to say, is you have to play through 1 because 2 is a direct sequel. But if you do that, that's probably like 12 hours, 13 hours for game 1, and maybe 15 to 18 hours for game 2. You're talking 50-hour commitment.
Yeah.
To have, I think, the most emotionally, it's if you're judging art by its ability to elicit an emotional reaction, this might be the GOAT for me.
Yeah, it's extremely emotional. It does it to the max.
I just didn't. They weren't that positive emotions, so like I don't ever want to do it again.
Yeah.
Like it's like that movie was amazing, but I don't want to. I've seen it once is enough.
Yeah. No, those games are notoriously gut wrenching.
Yeah,
like in terms of emotion, they will rip your heart out and blend them. And yeah, no, that kind of stuff. That's like, you gotta give me a happy ending, dude. Come on now.
Yeah.
it's happy in a bittersweet, the world is gray sort of way.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? I mean, all the shit will be in the podcast description, but plug your shit.
Bledsoe. I like that. I like that.
It's interesting phrasing.
Yeah, I really liked it. Bledsoe said so. Pretty much everywhere. Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all that stuff. And we have our personal socials, and our producer Alex, who's usually on camera and on microphone, but when we do guest spots, he's not, because it's like a whole other equipment ordeal to do the virtual thing. But Alex is on the show too. And all of our individual socials are linked to our podcast social, Bledsoe Said So. So you can find us all there by going to Bledsoe Said So on Instagram.
Badass. Again, I had an orb experience. I think these guys are telling the truth. I think, what you do, and what you say matters. And just like what you eat today will impact how your body looks tomorrow. I think what you think, say, and do today will impact wherever we are after we die. And I think it's important. So otherwise, I'm just going to keep joking about a fake gaming religion with Miyamoto the Father, Kojima the Son, and Carmack the Holy Ghost. Amen. And enjoy the show. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
What up, homies?
If you like the show and want more, check out patreon.com/Bledsoe Said So.
This will get you exclusive weekly bonus shows and access to our Discord community with hundreds of open-minded people just like you.
If you want to represent the show, go to bledsoesaidso.com for merch. We have t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and more.
For all future updates, follow us on Instagram at Bledsoe Said So.
Same time next week.